Athletes are always challenging themselves to get better. You've seen this in all sports. Esports is no exception. You can never predict the outcome. The only thing you can control is how ready you are. Over and over, players adapt, trying to improve, fighting hard for every percent gained. Give everything you've got to the challenge and show your finest. Bring your best out. Strive for perfection. It's our goal too.
Hello PUBG esports fans! One of the big differences with PGI.S is that instead of receiving prize money based on your final rank is determined by how much prize money you've won. We're awarding prize money every week, and the team who has collected the most at the end will be crowned our PGI.S champion. Here's how it breaks down. The first 8 teams to win a weekly survival match each week take home an automatic cash prize, earning more the sooner they win. From there, the winners of the weekly finals tournament get an even bigger cash prize. The first place prize being $25,000 on week 1, and growing to an astounding $500,000 by week 6, giving teams lots of opportunity to catch up and claim the title. Winning isn't the only way teams are earning cash though. 30% of the total profit made from PGI.S item sales goes back to participating teams. This money will be distributed based on the percentage of money each team won in the tournament, with bigger rewards for the higher performing teams. So, not only do you get cool skins and voting coupons to earn even more cool skins, but you're also helping your favorite teams bring home more well-deserved prize money. So be sure to tune in, pick your winners, and cheer on your favorite teams across 8 weeks of intense PUBG action.
Got me like wanna shot. Climbing and humble, yeah. I'm in my squad, feeling like I know I'm the greatest, I crumble, yeah. Made it from the bottom to the top, I did it there. Got these other players, never fighting, breathing for air. Aiming and locking, shoot. Winner takes it all, taking it all. No one breaking in his mind, what? Are you ready? Welcome to the battle, ready, set, fight. Welcome to the battle, ready, set, fight. Aiming and locking, shoot. The winner takes it all, taking it all. Shoot. Aiming and locking. You know that nobody like me, cause I'm faster and I'm stronger. You can have me, let me guarantee. Cause the winner takes it all. You ready?
Hello everyone and welcome back yet again to another weekly Reseeding matches. I am Porosaurus. Joining me on the desk today will be Cameron and Clover, and we are going to talk you through what is undoubtedly a spot that none of these teams really wanted to be in, as we are trying to get ready and get set to go into the final big week of PGI.S. Cameron, nobody wanted to be here, did they? But here we are.
Yeah, these final few matches are going to be incredibly important. This honestly, when you say that these teams don't want to be here, it has less to do with the prize money that the weekly finals are going to be delivering this weekend and more to do with getting as many chances during the weekly survival to make it to the weekly final of week 6, because in the way that the prize money has been ramping up, it doesn't matter how much you have won. If you win week number 6, you win this event, hands down.
That's what's on the table, Clover. We've been through so many weeks up until this point, and the stress has to be building. What do you think these players are going through, knowing that this is basically their last chance at trying to make any real significant money out of this tournament, or even trying to claim that championship for themselves?
I mean, I think every player is really digging deep into their bag of tricks. Every superstition, everything that they do to prepare for an event, they're making sure to tap every corner, because as you and Cameron have said, next week is the most important week for this whole series. And not only do you want to get the most chances to play, but you most definitely don't want to be the one team that has to sit out next week.
Indeed. If you do not find yourself with a win in the win column next week, you are going home, and nobody wants to be in that position. Here is our schedule for today. You've got Miramar and Erangel as we get set up for these games, and of course, obviously, can't forget that we will be having our weekly finals starting right after this as well. So make sure to stay tuned for that, because it was nothing but excitement last weekend. You can only imagine we're going to see more of the same this weekend. Here we go, though, our standings and our lobby heading into this this weekly reseeding. A couple of teams that we are pretty shocked to see in there. Cam, who stands out to you?
I mean, obviously, seeing Zenith in here is going to be a heartbreak for them, considering that they won the previous week. Listen, ever since A Freak of Freaks in week 1, every single team who has won the weekly final has then been in the bottom 16 the very next weekend. So for the teams that are in the weekly final, my tip to them would be don't win. But not just Zenith here in terms of his bottom 16, also looking at Liquid, FaZe Clan, STK, both of those teams once again twice in a row. 4AM still being down here is a shock. And then do we have to mention them again? Damwon, Kia. Listen, they had a really good bottom 16 last week, and it finally felt that the Edge Sweep Kings were back in business ever since their initial showing at the original seeding event. But unfortunately, still didn't find themselves a win during a survival, so we get them in the bottom 16 for the 5th week in a row.
After a certain point in time, it no longer becomes a surprise because it's happened so often. Isn't that right, Clover?
Yeah, I think that, coming out of the rankings in week 1, we had a lot of hype for Damwon and Kia. This was a team that we were saying was going to be one of the strongest, not only in the region, but we expected in the tournament. And thus far, that hasn't been the case. And that's not to say that they're a team that's gotten close, or maybe they're fragging out in the bottom 16. They're really not doing as well as we had hoped. This last week, Damwon had that one match. They made it 2nd place. They got 11 kills. Under really is coming into form. He's fragging out. But as a whole, this team just kind of isn't looking good outside of those brief moments of brilliance. They're not really making it out of the early to mid game. They're not really finding opportunities to frag out. And, you know, alongside with that, them and Detonation Gaming have thus far made it to a finals. And that's really heartbreaking to see.
Lost in the sauce and loose in the juice. Cameron, who do you have your eyes on this weekend? Maybe, you know, there's been a lot of teams that have been a little bit disappointed. Right, it's not just Damwon, yeah. It's not just Detonation Gaming. There's teams that we have had our eyes on for this whole thing, and you know, several that have maybe only made one finals. I mean, they're look at 4 a.m. They had one of our cash leaders, and here they are once again in the reseeding.
Yeah, they're currently 5th place because in the overall total cash leaderboards of the entirety of PGI.S because they won week number 2, but they have been in the bottom 16 every day since then. However, of all of the top teams to be in the bottom 16 that often, it doesn't surprise me to see 4 a.m. down here because historically, for the years that this roster essentially, even with the small mix-ups that they had in terms of players on the roster, they've been very hectic, very erratic. They're either really good or really bad. It's the teams that you expect to be consistent all the time, like FaZe. That's the big one here, and even Liquid for a little bit. But FaZe being here twice in a row, as well as SDK. I picked against them at the start of last week in terms of who I thought was going to be particularly good. Not doing that again. I do think FaZe and SDK are going to be coming out of the gates really, really hot, but they are not alone.
We shall see. Zenith. Meanwhile, as you said, our winners from last week in dramatic fashion. Clover, I know you had some words with Roth about maybe what was going on with them.
You know, I mean, I brought up superstitions earlier. Roth was saying on stream when he was practicing, getting ready for today, that typically when things get really stressful, a way that he and a team kind of calm down is they sing. He really likes to dip into Disney, and he told me he just forgot to sing Prince Ali. The last time he sung Prince Ali, he got 9 kills on Miramar. Like, that's his jam. And you know what? When we come into this final week, teams need to look at those superstitions. And we were looking at FaZe on screen, and that's another team. All have their kind of routines. We've heard them say every time they come down here to 16, they're going to use it to figure out what went wrong and make sure that they get to the finals. And I mean, if there's anything we know about this team, when it gets down to the 11th hour, that is that they are going to pull magic out of a hat. And so I'm really looking forward to see what FaZe pulls off.
There are definitely some historical late bloomers there on the FaZe clan. I'm not sure if they know one Disney song between all 4 of those players, but you never can tell. Anyway, though, I mean,
Poro,
look,
wait, Poro. Disney did not end in like 2005. There have been Disney movies that have come out since then. We're not limited to just Hercules and Aladdin anymore.
Look, maybe the song for FaZe is "Let It Go," right? Maybe that's what they need to be singing here to kind of and starting to move on from past week's disappointments. But look, you know, if there's one thing we know about FaZe Clan, and one thing that has just been drilled into our heads repeatedly over the years, it's that they know how to show up when the time is, when the pressure is on, right? And this is kind of the ultimate pressure is on situation. Do you expect FaZe to kind of turn up? I know you said, Cameron, that you're expecting them to finish. You think we'll see them finishing in first place, first game?
I don't know about that one. Obviously, as we see from the weekly survival, getting first in one single game, making that call is incredibly difficult. They might win the game right off the bat like they did last weekend. I do expect them to be placing highly likely in the top 3, if not today, by the end of the event, this weekend rather, no matter what.
So we expect them to have several shots at getting the win once we get back to our weekly finals. Clover, a pretty stacked lobby here. Arguably, some might say, if you looked at both of the 2 lobbies, that this might be the stronger lobby. Yet that's not the case. Do we expect to see any particular? Do you think this is going to be like a high loaded front end kind of finish here, or do you expect it to be we get down to the end and it's still very, very close?
I think there's a really high probability of it. You have a lot of this last week's survival frag leaders in today's lobby. Uba had a fantastic week for FaZe. He picked up 20 kills this week. Oftentimes when we've been looking at FaZe and kill heavy, we've been looking at Gustav. Likewise as well, Under, Noadra, Roth all had 20 plus kills this week. And they're teams that have historically really fragged out. And so when we look at the teams in this lobby, yes, they haven't been getting chicken dinners, but they are very, very aggressive, and I think that's really going to designate the meta for this weekend.
Cameron, I'm going to put this one on you because I know out of everybody in the world, you will give me the straightforward, the brutally honest answer. If STK does not come in very high here, do we start looking at the roster swap with a little bit of a different eye? Okay.
No, because if the swap was made right before this weekend, then sure, but even then you would want to give them the benefit of the doubt of growing pains. But Penta has been a solid fragger on this roster since he was brought in just a few weeks ago. Even the best teams in the world have those bad weekends, right? We all remember Team Liquid from the end of the year 2019, right? Even some of the best teams, they can have rough weekends, they can have moments that they are not playing to their best, especially with a tournament this long. You can't look at one single weekend and use that as a metric for the entire team as a whole. Would it be disappointing? Yes, but Penta, I think, has proven himself on this roster so far.
Clover, do you agree?
I do. I think that, unfairly, Penta is getting all of the brunt of the STK criticisms right now. And when we look game after game over the last 2 weeks, Penta is oftentimes the kill, the damage leader. We see him the last player up. So, he's not performing bad and he's not gelling with the team. It just seems like the team as a whole is slightly out of sync, but that is not by any means to Penta. And we're seeing that same thing with a couple of the teams that are starting to make repeat performances down here in the bottom 16 that we wouldn't necessarily suspect to see down here. Teams that continuously making it up into the top 5 game after making it second place time after time, and just through bad luck, through bad RNG, or down to even a bullet, sometimes not getting that chicken dinner. It's been really close for some of these rosters, but that's kind of the nature of this tournament. And when we look at SDK, they're a team that really hasn't adjusted their meta play style as much, and I think that they're just getting punished for it for a whole as a team, but that's nothing on Penta.
So both of you agree on the Penta, and I'll come in and I'll make that a 3-way agreement. By God, Penta has been playing absolutely out of his mind, and it's definitely some issues on STK, but you know what? That's not every team at this tournament is having their issues here and there. Nobody is just playing lights out of their mind from front to back. So it's not surprising at all to see them having a little bit of struggle. Here's another team that I expect to see a little bit more out of. Furia. They've been kind of an also ran, Cam, and haven't really been getting a whole lot of respect. Do you think it's a team that maybe deserves a little bit more respect?
I mean, honestly, compared to a lot of the other teams at this event, I don't want to say they don't deserve respect at all, but they are definitely on the lower rung of the competition here. And my biggest problem with the team is that it is essentially the Necro show. We saw a lot of good moments in the very beginning of this event where there would be like a new person's time to shine with Necro. There was a series that it was Necro and Raspu, a series that it was Necro and Rusty Zera. But as far as consistency, it is only Necro really fragging out. In fact, last weekend alone, he got 12 kills over the bottom 16 series versus 9, 6, and 3 for his teammates. And then when you look at the overall kills for him and his teammates, he has 80 throughout this entire event. His teammates have 61, 59, and 55. And that is a pretty severe margin there, looking at him and everyone else on his squad.
I'm really feeling these Bury Ram jerseys. Those are Easterific, and I love them with every fiber of my being. Clover, all right, we're still trying to get into the game, guys. Everybody, there was a little bit of a technical difficulty, so we're just filling a little bit longer. But Clover, I want to throw one question out at you before we get into this next run here. Sure. EU, man. What's going on? They've been having a little bit of a rough run. We're kind of surprised to see you got FaZe, you got Liquid, you got Ents, you got TSM all down here in the reseed matches. Kind of surprising, obviously, I think, to everybody. But out of all those teams, What team do you think are you kind of looking at the most to maybe rebound here this weekend?
I mean, this is really the first bottom 16 that Liquid's had to perform in, so I expect them to do quite well for themselves this weekend. The team, though, that I'm looking to improve the most is TSM, because we talk about consistency with all of these teams. TSM has been consistently struggling week after week after week. After week 1, they haven't made it to a final, and they haven't really looked like their great self. You know, we've not really seen great fragging opportunities. We haven't really seen them make it out in the late game, and things just keep falling apart, especially when they take those mid-game transitions. They kind of get picked off one after another, and then in the blink of an eye, the whole team's gone. So something just isn't clicking with TSM, and the bottom 16 is a really great place to figure it out. I mean, this is really their last shot to have a great week, and I would love to see them just kind of come out fighting and for the form that we know they're capable of.
I mean, I think you hit the nail on the head for sure there. This is the last chance saloon here for many of these teams, TSM being one of those big ones. I know a lot of people have been giving them a little bit of leeway just because they're obviously not playing with Vex, having to play with Wookie as the sub. But then you go over and you look at the success that VP has had with playing with Haruzen, and it kind of you know, obviously every team is different, Cameron, but you know, you got to kind of look at that and I don't know. I mean, do you expect maybe that TSM could have done more, especially considering the history that Wookie has with that squad?
Well, I think actually VP have a greater history with Haruzen than with Wookie, right?
Yeah,
because he's been their coach for PCS3, so he's at least been with the guys and been part of the team culture, which, as I said before, is such a huge part of it. For TSM, though, that slack that we could have given them for Wookie, I mean, come on, it's been, how long has this event been on? This is week 5, and that's not even including the opening weekend, and then of course the TPP survival tournament in the middle of things. So this is technically 6.5 at this point, especially with the showing that Wookie had at the beginning. If he's not slotted in now, when is he ever going to get slotted in?
Well, he's been playing very, very well, been putting forth a hell of a performance, but for whatever reason, the whole squad just has not seemed to be able to put it together or adapt to this playstyle, this format, this new meta that is being created under our very, very eyes here. As you can see on their screens, getting very close to getting into game here. So final thoughts, Clover, who do you have your eyes on going in this first game?
I mean, Dom1 Kia. Kind of like loop it back circle, but show us something, guys.
Cameron.
I mean, there were so many names to pick of. I can just throw a dart and pick any of them because there were so many good teams, as we said at the beginning. It's really hard. Oh, God, face! Ah, I got burned last week. Never again.
Give me Buriram, but give me Buriram, give me Miramar, give me game number 1, brought to you by Zowie, Intel, Perrier, and Toomey. And give me the 2 fantastic casters, Matchroom and Paper Thin. Boys, take it away.
Thank you so much, Poro. Paper, it has been a while since we have been on cast together, but we are now up in the air over Miramar in a pivotal series, the last bottom 16 qualifiers. 2 more days of action to have a chance to decide your fate at PGI.S.
Yeah, man, it really has been quite some time, and I'm thrilled to be back with you, of course, and thrilled to be here for these qualifying rounds. And I know the players aren't particularly thrilled to be in here, but it is what it is, and you got to fight through, and you got to put yourself in that position, Matt, to have a strong final week where the money gets insane.
Yeah, this is so pivotal. So many strong teams down in this bottom 16. I mean, this is just a stacked fan favorite group. And that means the fact that we have to remember we've got, I believe it's 4 rounds per day. Then that's going to decide your qualification bracket as we move forward. So at this stage, you guys should be aware, but I gotta tell you anyway. Remember, in the survival series, it's based off of winning the chicken dinner and then a new team steps in. We're looking at trying to figure out how that bracket and the seeding for who's going to be stepping into position. First circle, very centralized, going to make it pretty friendly for everybody. So a comfortable way to start. But with so few rounds to decide your positioning inside of this, it's going to be a lot of pressure on these teams' shoulders. Already being in a situation, that's pressure filled because most of these teams were not expecting to be at this position at this stage. This is such a pivotal stage.
Yeah, I mean, there's so many good teams in this lobby, Matt, and you're absolutely like, the pressure is enormous. It is just it's unfathomable what these players have to go through and how how this is. But that's kind of what makes it also so exciting is the pressure. I mean, there's going to be winners, there's going to be losers, there's going to be heartbreak, there's going to be moments of tremendous joy, and that's kind of what makes events like this so exciting, so fun. That's the nature of these things. That's why we play the games. That's throughout human history, things have been kind of that way. So for me, I'm quite excited about this. And I mean, a lot of really good teams in here, Matt. SDK, FaZe, Liquid, Zenith, TSG, Damwon Kia, Buriram, 4 a.m. This is an insanely stacked lobby. And I mean, Matt, I think, 3 winners of previous weeks. 4 a.m., FaZe have both won. And it is crazy. I mean,
Zenith last week,
it's just nuts. Zenith, that's the other one. Thank you.
This is going to be an emotion-filled ride. After every single one of these rounds, whenever they cut back over to the player cams, expect to see just raw emotions feeding into this. We're already starting to see it on social media. This whole event is very mentally taxing to play through, bouncing between the different systems. But right now, we're going to see the epitome of everything coming in. I know that there's money on the line for a lot of these teams coming up inside of the finals and next week, but this event right now in these bottom 16 rounds are just going to be so raw. Furia in a little bit of trouble there, but got a little bit of defense. 3-point push coming in as Eevee's now finding a different position to play from. Gets spotted out by Necro. Nice play off of it. Looks like the grenade's going to go a little bit too far. Gets a little bit of damage, but not enough to be problematic. And first blood is going to be Eevee.
Yeah, you can see here that Necro, the desk was just talking about him being a really great performer for Furia during this event. Here he is starting off strong, holding off a tough push from Liquid. He's going to get another knock onto Jeems, and this is looking really good. Liquid wanted to push this. They wanted to isolate Necro, but by himself, he made it so difficult that now Team Liquid looks like they have to back off as the rest of Furia has arrived.
Furia in a defensive position is an entirely different beast. When these guys can just hold an area and just the way that they play, the way that they protect each other, and the way that they're so fast to respond, you can see Liquid's a phenomenal team. But we saw it whenever we were looking through the survival rounds this week. If you go into Furia's territory unprepared, you are going to pay dearly for it. And now Team Liquid down to just 1 member already as Furia's regrouping back into position. You know that this is going to start putting a little bit of a hindrance on Team Liquid's plans. They love to drop Picado. They love to drop center, rotate out. Furia making this drop just to the west of them caught them completely unaware.
Yeah, exactly. And I think they thought of, they pulled up at that hillside there. They wanted to try to see if they could get the knock, get some shots in. But at the end of the day, Necro just doing too good of a job. LG Divine rolling up behind AAA. Janku is in that Murado. Looks like he's going to try to get down the hill and get out of there. This is on the northern side of the circle, northwest of Power Grid. And LG Divine coming in from the north side. AAA just moving out of the El Pozo area and hanging out towards that warehouse district to the north of Power Grid. But yeah, right now, I mean, you're not going to see, because you touched on this earlier, Matt, that it is kind of a central circle, so we're not going to see usually too much craziness. I mean, Liquid pushing out of their compound makes sense. That's pretty normal for them to come out of Picado. You want to, Picado teams generally want to kind of establish that position, particularly that southwest area early, because that part of the circle is really just wide open exposed.
Buriram on the hunt, and this is the way you want to see it if you're a Buriram fan. Rolling through right along the edge, getting a little bit more information for them to work with, and FaZe finding themselves a crate very early to work with. They're a little bit west of where we've been seeing Furia play from, but Kia getting a high ground advantage and a lot of vision on what's going on around them. You can see that this is the flip side of what we were looking with peak from Buriram just a moment ago. A couple of teams could be pushing in from this northeastern area in a little while, or we do see Kia holding down a very wide 4-man split. Buriram's going to be rolling along right next to Ince. And I know we've talked about centralized circle a couple times between both of us, but this is a very friendly circle for a lot of reasons. Plenty of space for you guys, like the players specifically, to carve out spots. We've got the center point that's going to be the hillside with Power Grid. San Martin's still in play. I mean, you can see most of the teams already in a pretty decent position. The teams that are maybe going to contest each other would most likely be Inns and Buriram to the northeast, with Kia providing a little bit of oversight.
Yeah, exactly. You can see Ents is kind of working their way up towards the northeastern area. They're going to cut through Buriram territory, which is dangerous for anybody. Buriram will just fight you anytime, anywhere. So if you're going to be near them, you have to be aware and you have to be ready to react, whether that be to try to capitalize on their early splits. Buriram, even though they are aggressive and they like to team fight, early on they do split out a bit. And try to get those, they will try to get those picks on you if they find them. They're crazy good shooters, so that's why they find those picks. A lot of times it's more that, not that they're particularly setting up for picks necessarily, but that they're good enough at shooting that if you roll into their territory, they will find them. So for Ents, they in fact do look like they're rerouting around the outer edge of Buriram.
This is going to be a slow roll at the start, a little bit of a slow burn, with it being the last bottom 16 rounds and the first of those rounds. Everybody's afraid to make a mistake, so it's going to be a lot of information gathering, a lot of slow movement, making sure the fact that you're making the right choice moving forward. See Detonation White trying to make sure that they have control over the territories. They playing this area where they know that Liquid is prone to be at, so making sure that as they make their push, you can see a little bit of utility being spent, but it's better to be safe with it than sorry. But this is a lot of utility for nobody inside the compound paper.
Well, I'm sure their coaching and their scouting had led them to believe that this was a potential spot that Liquid could be in, or somebody, maybe a TSM or something like that, rolls in towards this area. But so they have to be, very sure of it. I don't know if they know that Mexi's still hanging out in Picado, and seeing him in Picado might have led them to believe that Team Liquid didn't do particularly wide, split, or didn't leave the Picado area as deep as maybe they normally did. So better safe than sorry. But yeah, it was a bit of utility. You really want to have those stuns for late game. We've seen how important they are in late game situations. Time and time again, teams have found, ways to use those stuns in the last year that have made them extremely valuable to have in the backpacks.
It's just a matter of time waiting for the circle to close in to give us an idea on where the shifts could come in. A lot of very wide splits coming out from these teams, really trying to make sure that they claim territory, so if the circle does pop near them, they can have a good opportunistic reposition. In the center points right now, I feel like we're going to see a lot of importance, most notably along that hillside where Picado is at, just where we were seeing Detonation White. Zenith to the north of that, Furia in their wide split, but look down below that. You also have TSG holding down a wide split, as well as FaZe, and there we go. Circle pops. So now a little bit more pressure onto these splits. If you're kind of solo, hiding out by yourself, trying to hold a territory, now you have to regroup with your team, and you're going to have to do it pretty quickly, as we might have a lot of these edge teams starting to rotate in.
Yeah, and this one's going to get a little weird. South of the power grid mountain line, there's not a lot to play with. There's compounds, and that's about it. The hillsides to the furthest south are potentially playable. There's a bus out there for FaZe, and they're looking to kind of push ahead, gain some more territory. Raspu try to trade some shots here with Fuzzface and the other members of FaZe, as they have gotten into this God compound. There's only two for Furia here onto this defense. The other two taking up one of the few kind of hill positions you can find. Grenades exploding around Raspu. He's taking a whole bunch of damage. Going to be Uva. Going to pick up the first knock here. Going to take him down rather quickly.
A little bit of vengeance for the last couple of rounds. Whenever we saw Furia holding out and doing a ton of damage towards FaZe along the hillside, Kildemo's going to try to leave the position, taking a touch of damage, but looks like he should be able to get away using the trees and the hillside slopes to get back over towards his other teammates. This is what we were talking about. Whenever you see these wide splits becoming a little bit of a detriment, whenever everybody's now starting to make a move towards the center, FaZe comes in with authority and forces Furia to regroup. Along the hillside to the north, we do see that Zenith's still running a large split, a fairly wide 2-2 split to work around. Buriram over towards the east, looking at 4 a.m. down the hillside, hasn't quite gotten enough vision to get shots over towards him just yet, but we'll have to see how that goes. Only team that hasn't really been able to find themselves a comfortable position to play from is going to be Divine. Divine's back over next to Monte Nuevo and should be rotating relatively soon. But Kia, this is risky. If we see anybody having to make a play back to the south, look at how they've got vision, they've got the capabilities to protect each other, but Paper, what's the mindset between this wide of a strategy at this stage?
I mean, for Kia, it's about controlling territory and opening space for them into the third circle. Hopefully that this, they're banking on this going south. Like with the way that the unplayable terrain is to the north, the circle is more likely than not to start heading away from that. So likely to head south. It doesn't have to, but that's kind of what they're banking on. So Kia is a team that likes to control large amounts of territory. It's very much a Korean style of things, and that's part of the reason it hasn't panned out for them, because there are really aggressive teams in these lobbies that will send it at your compound if they feel like they have a good opportunity to take you down. So one of the other problems for Kia, frankly, has been that they used to, around phase 3 or phase 4, depending on the circles, make dives towards the center of the circle to try to establish a strong point in the middle and try to work their way from there. But they haven't been able to do that really in this tournament, and they haven't been able to navigate those situations successfully. So they've been kind of playing from the edge more often than not. And as good as they are at it, they're not particularly an edge team. And over time, that's been a big weakness for them.
We saw just a moment ago, 3 teams, ish is the best way to say it, ish, in Picado already. It's going to be TSM bringing in all of their numbers to hold it down. Team Liquid's last member in Mexi that's there. And Under for Kia already holding down a little bit of a foothold as well. So contested at this stage, but Picado can definitely support it. New Circle's going to go ahead and collapse in there. Detonation White, Furia, STK, FaZe, and our Picado friends, as well as TSG and Kia in good positions. Now it's just going to be the teams that opted into playing around Power Grid that are going to have to make a rotation. A couple of teams already on the move. You can see Gex starting to roll through 4 a.m. coming through the north. Could find themselves bumping into AAA in just one moment, as well as LG Divine after that. Looks like a lot of teams opting towards the road that's going to be circling around Power Grid, heads into Monte, and then heads back down closer to Chuma, Serra, and Picado in that direction. So making a little bit more messy as we go. I don't know if you want to mess with 4 a.m. at this stage, but they try to find something. Gets a good shot off of that one. That's 2 different angles, and that's 2 members already down for AAA.
Yeah, we've seen that 4 a.m. are really, really polished at shooting out of the vehicles in this tournament. It's been one of their strengths throughout, and they're going to pick up 2 on to AAA, looking to potentially pick up another. They're going to flush out those 2, but LG Divine, it has gotten involved in this fight a bit. They're going to try to get onto Bob Lee. Good drive-by by Lou here. 4 a.m. circling the wagons, dismantling AAA one by one. Only going to be Jayers left, and LG Divine looks like they are going to start to back off of this fight as well.
That was a much needed early couple of kills for 4 a.m. We talked about momentum a lot inside of PUBG, and 4 a.m. hasn't been having a lot of it. So getting a couple early kills might see them feel more in shape, I guess, for lack of a better term. So that way they can feel more inclined to make a couple of plays that they know are a little powerful. Let's go ahead and add in another team back over next to the hotel. That's going to be K7, making Picado a little bit more uncomfortable for everyone around. Zenith getting some vision on Burram, and Punaj already taking down one, looks back towards the others as they're rotating in. Nordger does manage to use the vehicle for a touch of cover, but notice, way off in the distance, that's going to be another member from Zenith that has 2 different angles that they're trying to hold, and good connecting shots. Nordra continues to impress, getting the down towards Punaj. Nordra does get shot off from Shinboy on the other angle for this, and you can see that rolling into this position, Burram has now found themselves surrounded. So now, Kickstart and Roth on one side, and it's going to be Punaj and Shinboy on the other, right along the edge of the zone.
I really like that Zenith's committing to this fight. They have Buriram in a really bad position. They've got a great split on top of them. They're backing each other up. They got the early knock. They kind of decided to capitalize on that. I think also knowing that Buriram is a team that wants to fight. They're going to get up in your face like Canaxi's trying to do right now, but he's taking a whole bunch of damage. It's those crossfire angles that Zenith is able to set up a great grenade from Punaj. Going to finish Canaxi off here. This is just really, really smart by Zenith, Matt. I love what they're doing here. You got to know the team you're going up against. It's Buriram. You know they're going to get aggressive. Kickstart's been nuts. Zenith knows they got to frag out. They got to have another good placement, see if they can build onto that finish where they won the week.
Just all around well played. Whenever you're trying to hold out a team and we talk about setting up defensive traps, this is the way you want to do it. Circle does pop down. You can see that Mexi did opt to leave Picado, realizing it was a little bit too hot, and gets rewarded for it. Centralized point. Grenade starting to come back over towards Eddie, but What do? There's nowhere to go. Got the blue back behind him. It's just a matter of time. Shipboy spots him out, and there we go. Our first team is eliminated, and it's going to be Burram. Now, a lot of teams that are going to have to start making moves. 4 a.m., you've got AAA that's got oversight on you, but not going to be doing too much. Last member up for that squad. Reposition coming in, as you can see, K7 doesn't want to hold down the hotel anymore, instead getting a little bit closer towards TSM's positioning. Now, we said that there was a lot of territory inside these central circles for teams to play around, but that is definitely not the case anymore, Paper.
Yeah, it's getting eliminated here pretty quick. You can see there's a few hills here and there to work with. The rest is compounds. It's not the most ideal part of the circle, no doubt about it. 4 a.m. under pressure from JR's, the last member alive for AAA, trying to see if he can get some revenge here. There was a knock on to Crazy. It's phase 4 blue, so even if he gets that res, I don't think there's enough time to heal himself up. Indeed, there's not, so he is going to be knocked. The rest of 4 a.m. now trying to drive and scramble. JR's doing a fantastic job here, getting a ton of damage and getting the one member of 4 a.m. dead. Godby, the last one out, gonna try and drive his way. That's an open top Murado, though. If JR's can find some good shots, there it is. The blue's gonna do it, but JR's got the damage.
Crazy went down as well, so going down to just 2. The blue did finish that one out. So now we're seeing 4 a.m. in a little bit of trouble, and great shot from Fuzzface there to go ahead and knock down Lou. Forever on near on no life, and that's just going to be another pickup. 8C's going to find it. 4 a.m. the second team already eliminated. Zenith had themselves a good position up towards the high ground. Now they've got to roll down into the lower ground, and nice little love tap from Zenith, going ahead and speeding up the motorcycle just a little bit more. One member already down and running right through the thick of it. Zenith is somehow finding a way to make this work. They end up positioning pretty close to Mexi's well, but they've got themselves this dip that they can play from and do manage to get through it. Casualties, only 1 so far, and significant amount of damage, but that should be fine. Gex in a little bit of trouble towards the east.
Honestly, that's a great move by Zenith. They didn't have a lot of great options coming down off the mountain north of Picado. That's a tough rotation for any team. They did a great job cleaning up Buriram very cleanly. They got 4 points for that, and now they come down, find a central circle position. I mean, for what they were in, the position they had, that's a very, very nice maneuver they're able to pull off. Now over here with FaZe Clan and GEX. GEX under a lot of pressure. Fuzzface flanking out as a solo as well in that vehicle. And ooh, even JR is getting in on the mix. He does get taken down by some good shooting from Leo, but GEX, they're pinned in the blue, Matt. This is looking pretty dire.
Yeah, there's not a lot of options for them to go with. The angle finally comes out. Gustav finds it. There you go. Now we're starting to see everything move towards detonation. White's reposition from earlier. We still have Furia holding down the defensive area. Zenith's position where they rolled through the hillside a second ago, also favorable. A lot of teams now going to have to make a push into what is a very deadly positioning. Where Detonation White is at the center of the circle, they have a compound to play from. It's fairly flat around them as well, but then it moves into a touch of a hillside where you can see a couple of these teams already starting to hold down positioning. That means as you roll through this, there's going to be a couple of different territory points that you want to keep an eye on. The hillside can potentially support a couple of more teams, but not the amount that we have hanging out on the outside skirts of this. Specifically, also, TSM and K7 are still next to each other in Picado, and Picado is no longer inside the safe zone.
Yeah, that fight's going to have to happen sooner rather than later. STK is going to load up and think about making a move themselves, probably trying to identify what their options are and what's going to be the best one to make here. So really curious to see what their ideas are going to be. Are they going to try to push Furia? Are they just going to try to set up on the edge somewhere? You can see there's not really much they can do unless they go right towards Furia from a different angle. That's a pretty flat, wide open space there. They rolled a Murata. Oh, the tire got popped, so that makes things even more difficult.
Yeah, this is a problem. Furia's got vision on that. FaZe is on a different angle. Shoot to Kill is battered and trying to weather this, but it is just knock upon knock that's coming over towards them. Luke is just trying to hide out behind these rocks. He's already been knocked as well. Only one member is still up, and Zenith also now getting rolled on by a K7. Roth gets hit by a car as he comes into this position. Zenith trying to figure out exactly where the approach comes from, and you can see grenades now starting to land right on top of him. Somehow Kickstart's managing to survive this, but it's not going to be enough. Finally, K7 manages to connect into with it, and only at the cost of one knock. They might even be able to get this res. They just have to keep an eye back over towards TSM's positioning.
All right, well, Ents and Kia now have to duel themselves. Indigo gets taken down by a great grenade from Diggory under behind the hill, proning, waiting, seeing if he can maybe find some kind of space to get something done. Indigo had a grenade in his hand, so he's going to fall to that. Squeaky rolling over on the side here. Rust and Mark coming in as well to try to set up this line of defense against the Korean squad. That's Sungjan going down as well. TSM maybe getting some shots in there, helping out a little bit, and it is going to be a knock onto Squeaky, but for Damwon Kia, it's not looking so good. They're already banged up. They've lost 2. They've taken some damage. The blue is not too far behind, and a couple other teams in front of them. It's going to take some nifty maneuvering to make that work.
Divine in a little bit of trouble. You can see Molotovs, grenades landing right next to them, coming out from Triumphant Song Gaming. Ents in a lot of trouble. Kia trying to get a little bit more of a play around them, but not much to be had. SDK still getting harassed, trying to find some way to approach the safe zone, but too many angles are coming for him. Under gets spotted out, and there we go. That's going to be all she wrote for Kia, as well as Divine almost instantaneously with this. Circles continuing to press back in the direction of Detonation White. Quick peek back over, and there you go. Sia finding out Furia. Going to go ahead and get some damage and a flush into this as well. And shoots a kill, I believe, out back over towards the west. This is just chaotic. Every team is just dropping off at almost the exact same time, Paper.
Yeah, it's a brutal circle like we've been talking about. Anything to the southwest of Picado is rough for the teams. There's just, again, not a whole lot to play with. Kind of have to make something out of nothing. And, you know, as great as that move from Zenith was earlier, the problem with taking a central dip early is that in bad circles, eventually another team is going to be forced into your position, and pushing dips has been made a little bit easier because of the vehicle change, with the ability to shoot out of vehicles being made easier. So dips aren't quite as safe as they used to be. So for K7, the hard work, you know, they get taken, or excuse me, for Zenith, they get taken down by K7. Now it's K7's turn to try to keep some teams at bay off of what is now turned to an edge. Dip location. Good knock from Diggory on to Vard. There's TSM. They have nothing but a little bit of a hillside and this truck to work with, but the tire's getting taken out. That thing's about to explode. Vard might just get down, taken down by the explosion. Indeed, now they have to follow the back end of this truck. Still in the circle, though, is TSM, so if they can somehow keep themselves safe, Matt, they're going to be okay.
It's all pressure on Ents. 2 different teams in front of them, and they're trying to figure out how they want to approach this. Lock's Lock is down. TSM in a little bit of trouble on the other angle for it. Wookie Bookie gets the knock onto Squeaky, and now Ents' troubles get that much worse. We have TSG that's trying to capitalize off of this to the west from this position, hoping that Ents can be enough of a distraction to make this work. Diggory, the last one up, in a ton of trouble. Got the blue right back behind him, trying to see if maybe he can get some harassment back to TSM, but there's nowhere to go. Just going to go ahead and feed that one over to the blue zone, deny the point. TSG making the play back in this direction, now looking towards K7's positioning. Looks like they might opt into driving by, and Mexi's still alive. Just kind of hiding out in this tiny dip, and they're team upon team that try to pass by him. Triumphant Song Gaming does get vision into K7's positioning, lines up, gets the knock, and a quick flush as well. So K7 has been able to hold this out for a while, taking over the Zenith dip that we saw just a second ago, but now there's starting to run into limited options as numbers are definitely favoring Triumphant Song Gaming, and now TSM wants to get involved as well. There's just too many people, too many teams, too many different angles. K7 got a little bit of smoke, but only one member up. Tries to make a little sneaky play, but Sia reads it, gets the shots onto him, and says that's not going to work.
Savior tries to get in the vehicle to get away, but TSG is just too fast. They're on the hunt. This is TSG in a nutshell. They are so good at navigating the sight lines of Miramar. And you can see here, they've just been working along this hill line on the southern side of the circle for quite some time, just kind of sweeping through, clearing out team after team. And now they are looking towards TSM. They know that there's only 2 members up if they've been keeping track of their kill feed properly. And they know that if they can wipe these guys out, then maybe they could try to be, they probably aren't going to win. Detonation Gaming White, the circle has favored their compound, so it's looking pretty good for them. But they can at least get a lot of points, sweeping side to side, clearing everything out, and then maybe getting a second place with a lot of kills. Yeah.
Just look at the loot that's inside this dip right now. TSG is the richest team in this lobby. Well, yes, there has been a lot of damage that came through. There's replenishments on nades. You're probably going to be able to switch out some armor somewhere in those 30 crates that are in that position. You're going to be able to find something to get you restacked and ready for a fight. Mexi, though, look at this, sneaking up behind TSG. Looks like he wants to make a play, realize that this could be an opportunity to get some points. Gets a spray back behind one, gets the knock onto a second. Team Liquid may be down to one member, but they are not out yet. An opportunity shows itself, and look, Fury decides that they want to get involved in the situation as well. Kill Demo goes for him, does manage to take down Liquid finally, and is now trying to pivot and look back into where we see TSG trying to play just one member up, but it's gonna be Sia, and by God, if there's one member you up one up right now for your team, it's gonna be Sia. Flashes land right next to him. Return comes through. You can see Fury realizing they can pick up the points. Spots him out, but Sia denies it instantly. Takes a lot of damage from this, though, but the rest of Fury is not playing in position. Quick pickup coming up from Sia, and now he has to start making a little bit of a reposition off of it. FaZe making the run and trying to finally contest Detonation White's positioning, but that is a solid defensive line already.
Yeah, it's really good hold here for Detonation Gaming White. It was going to be a tough push for FaZe no matter what. They do a decent job at least getting to the fence line, but that's when Detonation Gaming White comes alive. It's raining mollies and frags. They've been able to sit on their utility for the whole round. It's all on Uva, the superstar for FaZe, trying to get it done against C's, but C's going to be the one to outduel him. It's just Detonation Gaming White and Rusty Zera left for Furia.
Rusty Zero, what you got? He's not even opting into smoke. He thinks that he can try to go for it, but nope, gets spotted out, knows the numbers aren't going to be going in his favor. And so our first round winner of the last bottom 16 is going to be Detonation Gaming White.
Well, we kind of joked a little bit earlier in the round, Matt, that Detonation Gaming White was using some utility to clear that compound, but you know, their divining rods were on point that time. They were able to find the right compound, lock it down early, and they were able to just kind of sit there and wait it out, to be frank, and they held off a good push from FaZe, and that's no easy task. FaZe is a fantastic team at making those pushes, and you know, it's easier for the defender side on that situation, of course, but still got to give them credit where credit's due. I got to give TSG a lot of credit in that round, doing a good job sweeping side to side, clearing out that southern end of the circle. It just was a surprise from Mexi showing up and really ruining their chance at maybe a second place.
I mean, there were so many moving parts. It was rotation upon rotation, so we're going to hand it over to the analyst desk so they can give you a little bit more of a deeper dive. You guys take it away.
So Detonation Gaming White, after spending the hardest part of their game really clearing the imaginary Liquid from the long building, dispatched a FaZe very quickly, end up securing themselves a 7-kill win to start the day off. Not too shabby if you're Detonation Gaming White, Cameron. Okay, guess who's muted?
I'm muted. I'm muted. Oh my God! Don't worry, we all get one. We all get one. This is mine for the weekend. Yes, no, definitely a very good game for them. Very good for Furia as well, because I know that I want to go back to it. I sort of called them out for being a weaker team. That doesn't mean that they can't fight. And actually, the past couple of weekends, they've shown the ability and the sort of greed almost to leave the compounds that they're at, to clear out some fights here and there, like what they did with TSG. They cleaned up Mixi. So really good on them, but definitely Detonation Gaming White with the 7-kill victory. Great start.
Yeah, Furia kind of bookending this game with a couple of pretty good performances, obviously taking care of Liquid, who made themselves readily available to be taken care of, and then leaving the compound and being a little bit more of the aggressor. Anybody else really kind of stand out to you in that match, Clover?
I mean, really briefly, there's Gokuri leading up there onto damage, but Sia, right? We're seeing kind of the return of his great form. I think this is a player that has been slightly absent through this event that we've had a lot of expectations for, and one of the reasons why there was a lot of high expectations on Triumphant Song Gaming. So it's really good to see him have a great game to frag out. And once again, Furia, they were taking some opportunities to frag out. I mean, obviously that very early fight with Team Liquid had no business taking that fight on the way that they did, but kudos to Furia for really capitalizing on it and getting 3 out of that in the early game.
Sometimes you think you might be able to get a couple of free kills, and the free kills end up being yourself, unfortunately. You gotta also give FaZe a lot of credit that game, although the push against Detonation Gaming White did not go the way they anticipated before they end up going down. They managed to get 8 kills in the 3rd place. Cam, that's good news if you're a FaZe fan.
It is definitely a good start as well. And that push on Detonation Gaming we cannot stress overstress how difficult that push would have been.
Yes.
Just because how wide that compound is. Usually when you want to push a compound, you either want to try and smoke off a player, preferably get a knock, and if you can, secure a kill on that player to limit the angles that the defending team can have over you. But that big giant barn, as well as the building surrounding it, it's so wide and so huge, it's almost impossible to try and isolate some of those angles from each other and sort of make a safe path for yourself even to get to that wall. And that is, of course, even before taking throwables into consideration, which is definitely what Detonation Gaming used to dispatch of FaZe. So it would have been a struggle either way. I don't think if they were to run that multiple times, it would have been as dominant of a victory for Detonation Gaming, but I really don't know how often FaZe would come out on top in that engagement.
There's a lot of glum faces right there on that squad. Damwon once again finding themselves going out early, 1 kill. Once again finding themselves chasing a circle. A couple of pretty, well, I don't want to say bad, but not performances that you'd want to see in the first game here, Clover, especially when so much is on the line. Does anybody that really stuck out to you as kind of a little question mark over your head?
I mean, Damwon, we did see that little bit of damage and knocks coming out from Kale and Under, but they didn't get a chance to finish it. All of that was stolen, and I don't know really quite what type of PUBG that it is that they're trying to play, or maybe they're failing to play the PUBG that they want, and that's standing out to something that's heartbreaking because I'm not seeing that change you want to. On the flip side of that, I mean, FaZe does look in good form. I think it was really unfortunate where they were kind of positioned at the end of the zone. Oftentimes you've seen some zone shifts really favor against FaZe, and that's where they struggle, where we see them coming into second place time after time and again. They still use that as a great opportunity to frag out, though. We saw kills from all 4 players, 4 of which from Fuzzface, who lately hasn't been the kill and damage leader of that team. So it's good growth for him as a player, and what we want to keep seeing, that consistency of them to continue to make it into the top. Though, as we've started to learn, they're not getting those chicken dinners, so let's see if we can get them a chicken today.
Well, it's been difficult to come by. Looks like we're getting ready to get into our next game, but Cameron, I wanted to hit you with one last question before we head off there. Jayers was able to basically keep 4 a.m. pinned and knocked and low health going into that next circle. That's not the 4 a.m. we're used to.
That's not actually. Jayers picked up a couple of points where he could, but it was more 4 a.m. putting themselves in that position in the first place. They probably didn't even know that Jayers was on that high ground, but that was irrelevant. They were so close to the edge of the circle. They were so close to the blue right before the blue started shrinking on a hard shift. I'm really sort of confused on why it took them so long to leave that area. That's such a weak area to be with anyway, just because of the way the map works. Just on the north side of that ridge, that area is still technically considered unplayable. So a southern shift, I don't think would have been too much of a surprise for them. I really do wonder what 4 a.m., what their plan was, even taking Jayers out of the question.
Well, looks like we're about to head into game here, Clover. Any last thoughts?
Just teams. They really need to step it up just a little bit if they want to have any chance coming into next week.
Boy, I left you wide open, and we forced you to do the most vague thing ever. I really thought we were going to be playing the music.
I don't want to pick
honest.
apart so many teams right now, but game 1 wasn't as special as we really wanted to see for some of those rosters. So let's see if they can bring it next game.
They're playing our song. They're playing the time to get into match number 2, Jam. And that is our time to say goodbye. And we're going to send it back over to Paper Thin and Matrim, who are ready to bring us game number 2.
Thank you, Poro, Kami, and Clover. Moving in, we've got the airplane that's just going to be a touch south of Azahar, ending up to the north of Aldemar, coming in, kind of pushing towards the west. A little bit friendlier of an approach this time around. Not too many of these teams opting to play north, but looks like that's where Ince is going to send it off of the start. We saw a clustered Picado, which kind of surprised me, Paper Thin. I think that was just the nature of the beast with the last circle. Do you think that might be a trend that could continue?
Well, if the circle keeps kind of shifting in a direction where it starts out with Picado in it, and it's likely to shift in the direction of Picado. Yeah, absolutely. It just kind of, teams get forced into there. It's a major crossroads on that part of the map. So especially if you're coming from the northeastern side, you don't have a lot of choice. You either got to go that or go all the way down towards Los Leones. And although in this lobby, going Los Leones might not be so bad, to be honest with you, Matt, I think some teams maybe had an opportunity to make a further wrap to the southeast in that last one. Damo and Kia was the last team to come in from the southeast, and they were by the Picado crater. So nobody else really came in from the southeast of them in that last one. And the reason I say there's an opportunity to come in from that direction is that you don't have teams like Meta and T1 in here, no infantry teams that might set up traps along those particular alleyways. So that the opportunity is there if you want to head in the Los Leones direction. Detonation Gaming White is not a team that is typically going to do those kind of things. You can see their circle is heading kind of in the Los Leones direction, and we're seeing some early shots for GEX again.
GEX just can't catch a break. Attack all around, living up to their name, being involved in early game fights galore so far. Leo is going to make landfall perfectly fine. To follow in with what you were talking about Los Leones, we've seen some very hard shifts specifically this last week. The circles have been fairly centered so far, but I feel like we're starting to get due for some more, I guess, dramatic circles just in the nature of the beast of what's been going on so far in this week. Question comes into play, and I wouldn't be surprised if a lot of these players are thinking something very similar. First circle, fairly friendly to most of the teams. Really only about 5 that are not inside the safe zone right now. Those 5 have plenty of opportunities to move inside of the circle. There's plenty of spots that you can support 5 teams that are still open and available at this stage. The question comes into play is whenever you're looking at Los Leones and how much of the circle it does eat. And then we also still have the fields that are to the west of Impala that are where Shoot to Kill is playing at right now. That's a big section of the map that's also kind of dead. That leaves La Bendita, we've got Graveyard, and then we've got the hills that are to the southeast of Picado that tend to get a lot of attention as well. This is where I feel like we're going to start to see a lot of our teams lean into and maybe condense down into a little bit more of a close-in, like, fighter point with this. My eyes are specifically going to be drawn towards Detonation Gaming White. They do have an inside track for a lot of their movement. TSM also on an early move as well, looking like they're wanting to play a very centralized position. One member for Detonation White already holding down this point, and it looks like already realizing here's the vehicles coming in going, I don't have the numbers to defend this. I don't have the support. The rest of the team is still inside of Los Leones, so is going to go ahead and just abandon position. I think this is smart. Well,
it is smart. It's the right move to make for sure, but for Detonation Gaming White, there's no reason for Melifo to not have a vehicle in this situation. And he puts himself at extra risk by not having one. Whether he dropped here or whatever, there's no one near them that dropped Los Leones. There's absolutely no one within even a kilometer of them, Matt. There's no reason for him to not grab a vehicle and then go to this spot if that's where he so chooses to loot. And I think it's fine to loot there. It gives you a more centralized location to use as kind of a beachhead, a starting point, if you will. But you got to have a vehicle there in case something like that happens. When you're on your own, you got to have an escape valve, and running out across an open field is not ideal. And Melifo, frankly, even though he gets out of there in time and he recognizes the situation properly, it could have been a lot worse.
Just the fact that nobody else was, well, this is a drive, to say the least. You can see Detonation. Well, it looks like they're trying to regroup back into position and having a little bit of struggles with the hillsides around Los Leones. Other teams that are rotating at the time that are not having those same consequences are going to be Shoot to Kill moving in. They've been holding down Impala, and they just run right across the hillside, getting a little bit closer to La Bendita. In a similar vein of where we saw TSM playing a little while ago, just a little bit more positioned towards the west with this. Now, where we're starting to see this, there's some very strong hillsides that you can play at the earlier stages, specifically just outside of Los Leones, but also where we see Shoot to Kill, TSM, trying to get a little bit more of a position. And the information that you can get from those high ground points, those hillsides, is so ridiculously valuable in a circle like this. Whenever you can really curry positioning and force other teams to move around, you can potentially force some fights in the earlier stages while also knowing, if the circle does shift away from you, exactly where you can move for a safe position.
Yeah, you're precisely correct. And I think, there's a couple hills around that area that, that are already being occupied by some of the teams. Damwon Kia is actually opting to set up along the southeast side of La Bandita. There's a couple really powerful compounds like the one that Sungjong is at, that if the circle does shift in that direction, will typically rake you in quite a few points and give you a really good position towards the late game. It all depends. The circle has a lot of directions it can go right now. And yeah, I guess, is Kia actually going to try to take Pentalol on here?
Makes the approach into this. There's a couple of defenders that are still back behind this for shoot to kill that can provide a little bit more cover and advantage. You can see Alo at range. Doesn't have the cleanest sightline of what's going on, but at least can feed information for Penta and know how he wants to move around through this. Under is just kind of running in between the different members of Shoot to Kill at the time, at least being a touch of a distraction. Penta has repositioned away from this, and it looks like Kia is firm sending into this point. They've decided that they want it, except for Under. Under is still staying outside of this, providing a little bit more insight on how we see Shoot to Kill's positioning lining up. So I like this. It's Alo just going to go ahead and take out tires if he can, deny some vehicle positioning off of it, and Kale repositioning out of it. Looks like maybe Kia thought, hey, we don't know exactly how many members are in here. We're getting shot as we're trying to approach, so let's just abandon this idea and reposition off of it. Now the question comes into play is, how are they going to play this? As Shoot to Kill does have them kind of in a pincered point. Instead, Kia separates out, sends 2 to the north, 2 to the south, and are going to try to cover each other at range.
Yeah, for Kia, this is definitely them not quite anticipating properly what SDK is thinking coming out of Impala. SDK has been a team that in this event has been very willing to drop whatever's open. They don't particularly care where they drop. They just want to drop somewhere where there are no other teams. So in this lobby, that's going to be Impala here on Miramar. So for Damwon Kia, typically you're going to have a team like Infantry or Tianba coming from your eastern side. And I don't think they expected SDK to make that move that they did, because I don't think Kia was necessarily interested in trying to fight Pentalol. I could be wrong on that. He was alone. I'm not sure how well aware Damwon Kia was of that, but typically speaking, Damwon Kia is not a team that tries to get fights early, even if they're picks. They very, very rarely go for those kind of plays. They're not the type of team that goes for those risky early maneuvers like that. So I think that was just kind of just a not fully understanding on how SDK's approach was going to be to this circle. Just, SDK, of course, since they're bouncing around, they have that advantage of surprise. They have that element of teams don't necessarily know exactly what they're going to do every time because they're not always dropping in the same spot. And like you mentioned, Matt, now they're in a decent position to kind of pincer and blockade Damwon Kia.
You can see the benefit of this high ground we were talking about beforehand. FaZe can look through and see almost anything that's going on all the way up to Minas Generalis. They're playing over next to the power grid hillside, that area just north of Picado. And they do have a Zenith that's on the ground just below them, but that's not really what they're doing from this position. It's not about getting kills. If one presents itself, they'll take it. But it's more about trying to get an idea and the scope, the lay of the land that's going to be in front of them and how they're going to move through it. K7 is kind of along the lines, still in the area in between where we see Zenith and 4 a.m. playing. We did also see Buram a second ago that was playing kind of close towards TSM's positioning, holding down La Bendita Crater. Update on Ince. Ince was moving in along the same corridor where we saw Kia and SDK playing from. Still outside in the fields trying to get in no rush right now. I think that we have a lot of these teams that are really around the hillsides that are just south of Bendita. Gustav finally sees that shot though. Says, hey, Chin boy, this is just too easy of a kill. Well, I say it's too easy of a kill. That's a couple more misses than we're used to seeing coming out from Gustav.
Yeah, he can see Shinboy thought about vaulting through that window, and he thought better of it, which is smart, because if he tries to go through that window, that's an easy shot for Gustav to line up. But some good cover fire from his teammates there is going to put Gustav back for a bit, and give Zenith some temporary breathing space. And if you're looking at the map stream, which you totally should be, it's on Twitch. It's a PUBG Esports map on twitch.tv, so you can watch this and see what's going on. You'll see that a lot of teams have centered up. This one is likely to end up somewhere around the craters because of the way that the unplayable terrain works, because because Los Leones is in there. It's probably going to end somewhere, around the craters. Likely, it could be Los Leones, but right now it's looking to head in that general direction of, TSM, Detonation Gaming White, that kind of thing.
Detonation White, yet again, in the center of the circle, a comfortable position to play from right now. Still capable of holding down their split. Just a matter of if they opt into regrouping from this stage. Kia's 2-2, you can see lined up, and long-range shots coming out. As I believe that they're going to be going towards Ints, who's probably going to start rotating as they're no longer inside the safe zone and do not want to cross these fields. You can see that the firing line set up between Shoot to Kill's 2-2 split and Kia's 2-2 split would make anybody trying to approach from this angle absolutely just harassed the entire time. 4 a.m. over towards the north. Looks like they're trying to move in just a little bit more. TSM's going to get some vision off of that. Vard lines up, gets a little bit of damage. Can't quite get the knock just quite yet. Do note that is kind of a hilly terrain point. Vard's main goal there is to really just stop any movement coming in forward, expecting the fact that that's going to be the scout coming in for 4 a.m. and try to discourage them from making any further of an approach into it. Gex, though, on a little bit of a difficult position, opting into a 2-2 as well, but they're going to roll right into Divine's positioning and do manage to get at least a foothold inside of that. Jin finally gets the angle onto one of them, gets the knock onto it. Now it's just a matter of June opts to coming out for it, and there we go. That's going to be a solid defensive line holding up from Divine.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure what GX was thinking there. They should have had information with this split on what was going on with LG Divine in that compound, or maybe they just misread it. They could have just pushed towards Los Leones even further. There's no one on the western side of Los Leones, so they had plenty of open territory. No reason to try to take that compound or push into it unless they thought that there was only one member of LG Divine there or something. I'm not exactly sure what the thought process was for GX, but it was definitely the wrong one, as they are going to lose 2 members early. The other 2 do pack it up and head towards Los Leones proper, but they're going to stop along the edge of that. 4 a.m. You do see Shaolu here is going to watch K7 drive by, trying to get that barrel spray going. This time, though, not going to find much connections, and the SLR still not really getting it done. So for K7, that is a unpunished rotation in most ways. Yeah, maybe that Bronco took a little bit of damage, but for all intents and purposes, they're going to come through with that just fine and make their way over to the eastern side.
You can see that the scouting and information that FaZe managed to gather from that high ground lets them reposition around 2 different teams, most notably Team Liquid and Divine, who is providing a little bit of harassment. You can see that FaZe, good use of terrain to go ahead and stop back over in that position, regroup, and continue to roll through. Fuzzface has already got them a nice little home, so they should end up stopping there at any given moment. K7 rolling through the hillsides, trying to see if they can find a little bit better of an option and an opportune position to play from. Looks like they are going to be rewarded with it, as well as Kale is going to be rolling on the other side of this compound that does have walls, does have themselves a nice fortified position to play from. Kale still just rolling through, looking like trying to get a little bit more of a regrouped positioning. Remember, we did see that Kia was running a 2-2 split much further towards the north, and instead now starting to lean into the hillsides. Norja does get vision of 4 a.m. in their reposition as they make their approach, and this is a much more quiet Burram than what we were seeing in the survival rounds.
Yeah, Burram kind of spread out along the inside of the La Bandita crater, and just nobody's really kind of tried to cut through it or try to take position inside of it. So for them, it's going to be quiet in this situation. But now they see 4 a.m. and you know how Burram is. They might just try to take a fight here. If they get a knock particularly, they will get very, very aggressive potentially. They're still inside the circle as well. So for them, this is well inside their comfort zone. They want to clear the edges of circles. They like to play from the edge. So that's another benefit if they want to take that fight onto 4 a.m. But for now, I think they're comfortable being inside of the crater, and there might be some other teams that try to push in, so they got to be aware of that. They got to be ready for it. Team Liquid working along the western edge there, and oh my word, Ibiza getting it done from range onto JN there with that SLR. Very nice shooting from Team Liquid. Looking to recover from what was a bad start in the first round, even though Mexi came through and made it pretty respectable for them. They definitely did not start that first game the way they wanted.
Yeah, and that was mostly due to where we saw this team that we're looking at now, Furia. Whenever they entrench in, they can be ridiculously strong, already in a very centralized position, pretty close to detonation. White FaZe rotating over into the west. It's going to be along the lines where we see Team Liquid. They're going to hold up at, as well as Divine that could be approaching in a similar point. I think that FaZe already has an idea on where they're wanting to stop. There's a little bit of a dip that's just a touch ahead of them that is quite strong, but is very close to the edge of the zone. We're regularly seeing that FaZe is after the hunt, just trying to make sure that they're staying along that edge zone positioning, because they just haven't been able to find an easy path to center just quite yet. Shoot to Kill on the other side, looking like they're trying to do a similar rotation of their own. Firmly regroup. We saw them running the 2-2 split alongside of Kia just a little while ago, so similar minds, finding similar opportunities, but Pentalol does get knocked, as it's going to be Kia getting a little bit of vengeance, and finally getting that kill on a Pentalol that we saw start brewing about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah, it's already dangerous enough riding on the back of a buggy, but a buggy that's missing 2 wheels is even worse. So for Purdy, he is going to get away with it, but they do lose Penta, that new fragger they have brought into that roster. And it's Damwon Kia looking to put some more hurt into some other teams from this position. This time it's going to be AAA, but for AAA, there's a dip here that they can work with. They could settle up in underneath SDK, and they should be relatively safe as long as they don't do that. As long as they don't run each other over, it should be fine. But that should be okay.
See those on camera.
No, typically not, Matt.
Usually it's just a kill cam thing, but look at Divine rolls right up in on the Uba in the slowest of slow vehicles that you can traverse through Miramar. They've got them stacked together. They are fairly defensive. Now, it looks like a push into this defensive position that FaZe was wanting to play. They opted into this dip, and they opted into wanting to play edge, but you can see that Team Liquid, here's the firefight that's happening, and looks like they might decide to opt into a high ground defensive positioning. FaZe finding themselves into a dip, do have at least the benefit of cover, but have to be extremely cautious. Grenades can roll down into dips like this and just absolutely destroy your team if you end up too stacked.
Yeah, and I like the Team Liquid's getting aggressive on this, trying to see if they could take advantage of their high ground position, this kind of, this mini crater edge that they have around the outside of this. They could absolutely punish this fight once it kicks off. I don't think it kicked off as fast as they maybe anticipated, but for now, LG Divine is looking to try to work their way forward, so using some of their throwables to try to open up some space, getting a little bit of damage into Gustav. A decent angle for JN, not really able to get a handle on his shots. There's Levies getting one. Is there going to be two? It's the finish onto Gustav, actually. Buzzface alive, but in the smoke, and there's another good spray here as FaZe is getting ripped apart right now. It's an answer from 80, trying to get some more damage into LG Divine, but being very safe, getting underneath that hill. He's the member of LG Divine there. Now coming up over the hill, he's surrounded from two sides and finally going to go down. It's going to be Turtle finishing the job.
When you opted to playing the edge, that's what can happen to you right there. Divine just rolls in and a very strong push into that. The way that they played that was so well done. Zenith looking like they've decided that they're going to harass into position and now trying to take over position that Furia was playing. One down already on Furia's side. Molotov smokes already coming into play. Furia firmly entrenched and now just starting to hold angles, waiting to see if maybe somebody from Zenith overextends. Detonation White does have vision of what's going on, trying to provide a little bit of extra damage, maybe get a knock, get some free kills as they present themselves. Do note the other side of this building is entirely open, and that's what they're trying to make use of. Furia now caught between two different points. They've got Detonation Gaming White that has vision onto their backside and now leaned in on any cover piece that they can find. On the other side of this, it's going to be Zenith trying to find an opportunity to roll into. Grenades are going to come into play, but they're not going to be in the right position. Shinboy now flanking around, going to start getting a little bit more vision on what's going on, but you can see the risk and the hazardous position that Zenith is in. If they start to push this too brazenly, they could find themselves being contested against a team very much in their face and another one at range. So instead, trying to opt in and get a little bit more of an idea on what's going through, and instead taking shots at Gex at range. Detonation Gaming White hasn't really started to harass Zenith just quite yet, but you can see Furia's position is ridiculously precarious.
Well, AAA gets pushed by K7, so it's two members down. Just Bob Lee left here for AAA. Zenon looking to be rezzed by his teammate. Savior just going to be watching. There's a huge smoke crescent being put out by AAA, and even Damwon Kia is potentially looking to aggress onto this fight, sending a couple of members out, looking ahead, and now Savior going to finish off that one, looking to potentially get the last member of AAA inside of the smoke, though, behind this Murado, staying relatively well hidden, has a Groza as well, does Bob Lee, so K7, Savior's going to use discretion as the better part of valor. Good grenade, though. Gonna find a knock, and Bob Lee almost gets pinched between two Murados. It blows up. He's just able to narrowly escape that, but a grenade is good. And that is going to be the end of K7. Or, excuse me, AAA.
Kia coming alive on the side of this, realizes where K7's at, but Under goes down quite early inside the skirmish. Lock's down on side for K7 as well, but you can see it's going to be Shang Zhang trying to see if maybe he can get a grenade on this. Tries to retreat back over, got the smokes down, gonna opt into trying to get Under back up. On the other side of this, are we gonna see K7 commit into a res? Do note that none of this fight is happening inside the safe zone. Kale already outside in the blue right now as well, was trying to hold down a defensive point and provide cover for his teammates, but narrowly makes it back into the safe zone just in time. The problem comes into play is, does K7 have any grenades? Because if they can hit anything into this and they manage to roll it back into the point where Kia is defended at, this could absolutely decimate them. Savior finds an angle to the side of it, gets the shots onto Kale, retreats from it, takes a little bit of damage, but you can see the pressure that Kia is under from this point. It is so difficult to play around this angle. They're trying to make sure that they keep an eye on the hillside, holding this front down position, making sure to secure the rest of the team. But Savior now venturing out into the blue, seeing if maybe he can get a counter flank, using the smokes through this. If he can line up something, it could absolutely destroy Kia. Angle onto one, lines up the shots onto the second one, gets a little bit of damage onto Under, but it's not enough to get the knock. Under is the last one up, trying to figure out how he can scrap something together, can't res his teammates, and now being harassed from multiple angles.
I mean, that's a hell of a play by Savior. It catches Kia completely off guard. They have no clue that that flank is coming. He may pay the price, but he's picking up some points for his team for it. Now Lockslock going to do the same thing. And again, they fool Kia. K7 doing a fantastic job on this. Good stuns to buy themselves a lot of time. Keep Kia pinned inside of that dip. And then they make some fantastic maneuvers out into blue, but they might be paying the price now as they have suffered a lot of damage from the blue itself. Rustin Martin going to finish off Zennon, but Luke 12 going to steal the kill. Buyoho stuck out there. He is knocked. Lockslock gets the first aid off. But again, blue still going to be doing the majority of the damage to K7 here. As for Lockslock now, there's not a whole lot he can do without a vehicle.
Yeah, I feel like that's the end of him and about to be the end of K7. There we go. Furia just gets spun on as Zenith finally coming alive inside this fight, and that was just a clean take coming up from Zenith. Not even a member down. So now in a strong fortified point inside the safe zone. Couple of fights that are now happening. Detonation Gaming White, while they managed to catch the safe zone a lot in that first game, this time finally having to move, gets spotted out, and gets dropped. 4 a.m. TSN, unlikely neighbors, but protecting each other to a certain degree, is each one holding down their own house in a odd situation over the north, where we've got Divine, Buriram, and a very strong 4-man team Liquid still holding down a very centralized position.
Yeah, Team Liquid made a good move, opting to back off that fight between FaZe and LG Divine. It didn't kick off as quick as they probably would have liked the third party, so instead they go for center circle, and it could pay off for them. Jeems has been knocked out here. Buriram looking to finish the job. Pretty good grenade there, almost gets the flush. Squeaky has been knocked. TSG out in the open a bit with some vehicles and some hay bales. That's about it, but there's enough of a rolling hill to keep them obscured from Zenith. For now, their bigger concern is definitely going to be Ents. SDK has some eyes onto Ents from the other side of that hillside. Team Liquid here, they see 4AM and TSM sharing two houses, being neighbors. They might want to kind of see if they can crash the suburbs, as Buriram is still working the La Bandita crater side, Matt. They have to make a move eventually. They do still have a little bit of edge of that crater in, but it's not a lot.
It's a lot of pressure on these teams. You can see how wide out and flat the terrain is, specifically to the teams to the south. TSG and Ints, they have to hit some beautiful shots to open up the doors, and getting Sia down early, that is going to be huge. Tixu lines up with a little bit of assistance coming out from Diggory. Now you can see TSG realizing that they're in some trouble, opting to just jump inside their vehicles, instead just send it. Maybe they can make it into cover because they can't fight their way through. They know that there's too many people alive. 26, 9 teams still moving at this stage. So TSG rolls through, finds themselves a touch of a dip to play from. Team Liquid gonna go ahead and get the shots onto him. Goes ahead and gets another one down. Now just ping up for TSG. Ints now has a little bit more of an opportunity to roll through that wide open terrain we were talking about a second ago. Shoot to kill, also trying to capitalize off of this moment, but it's going to be Buriram that's refereeing so many of these rotations right now, taking shots at teams as they're making movements and hoping that they can force them next to each other. But do note, there has been a reposition coming up for Luke 12. Did not rotate with the other members, creeping up, trying to see if maybe he can get a side flank onto God Meow, is going to spot him out and doesn't even come close to expecting that one. Good play coming up from Luke 12, but the problem comes at what type of sacrifice is this going to be? Is he going to be able to get much more out of it? No, shoot to kill gets eliminated. The other two members go down in an entirely different fight, and that's going to be a big play coming up from Buriram. But what do they do next?
Yeah, they're actually going to be able to get that res, it looks like, on a God Meow, so not able to flush that is Luke 12. That's, you would have liked to at least gotten the point out of it. Well, that's neither here nor there. Zenith and Ents now going to have to fight each other. Ents had to come off of the hill. They got some space opened up because TSG tried to push directly into the center. So this kind of rolling hill line on the outside of the compound is going to be available. Shinboy has been knocked by Tixu, but Roth going to return the favor, gets Tixu as well. Back over here towards Buriram potentially. Nope, okay. Roth, he is going to, kickstart with a great side angle, and that is going to be Ents handled and dusted by Zenith. They are having a fantastic round here.
Looks like we've got three major factors to look from. Circle's going to go ahead and influence it just a little bit more. Buriram to the east, Zenith to the south, and Team Liquid inside their dip to the north. All the other teams are going to have to skirmish along this northern position. Nordra kind of playing the outside point for Buriram and can harass anybody from TSM or 4AM or potentially even Divine that makes a move. Connex goes for a peek back over towards Mexi, but does go down. Now Mexi continuing to look back in Nordra's direction, who's been harassing him for a little while. Godmeal going ahead and throwing out a little bit of defensive line, seeing if maybe they can get in Connex's position, but it's going to be Punage that takes a shot towards Avisa, gets it down onto him. Good angle is going to be rewarding for Zenith's positioning off of this. They're going to have to play this high ground ridiculously efficiently as they're going to get a lot of aggro and attention drawn their direction. 4AM trying to get a little bit more separation away from TSM. You can see the smokes coming into play. Both teams realizing how hazardous this push is about to be.
Yeah, that's a really big mess there on the northern side of the circle. There's a lot of teams clustered up within each other. You can see Team Liquid, TSM, 4AM, LG Divine, Buriram, all up there, all vying for control of some of these hills that are going on. You can see Lou has managed to get on top of some of the furniture, going to throw mollies all around him. He doesn't want anybody to try to push into his house, trying to give them the space to clear him out, keeping the angles cut off as well. So Xiaolu, he's going to hear, that's Miraku. It's going to be actually Mexi from Team Liquid that gets in there. Ibiza going to get the finish. So Team Liquid coming alive in this fight. They are full on, getting pretty deep into this. Some grenades are going to come out. These are stuns, opening the door for Team Liquid to come down the hill. Poor Wookie Bookie, nothing he could do.
I like this from Team Liquid, realizing where all the fights were happening around them. Don't let these teams fight it out and then roll into them. You have the high ground advantage, so trying to make sure that they try to exploit it for as much as possible. Get as many kill points as you can and everything that's going on. So running back down into here, just one of the members up for 4 AM. It's going to be crazy. Still playing inside the smokes. You can see Divine Turtle still up. Is going to be a little bit towards the west from this positioning. Crazy looks like he might have himself a little bit of an opportunity. Baiting this one out. Going to toss the underhand grenade on one angle. Aware and can hear the footsteps coming out from Clib on the other. It's just blind grenade tosses right through the smokes, and it's going to be Liquid that does get the vision, but Crazy takes a couple of shots into it, but Turtle gets a nice position around the outside of this to continue to harass, and you can see EB is just going to not be able to find the way out of this one. Crazy somehow manages to survive this one, and Turtle is still providing an oversight position, and instead just going to play this one out, and that's two very weakened teams as now we're looking towards Zenith and Burra.
Yeah, Turtle's feeling the pressure from Zenith a bit, so that's kind of allowed Crazy to not get fully committed on by Turtle. And it also, Turtle's able to get enough damage into Liquid that it gives Crazy a really good opportunity to win that fight. Even though it was a 3-on-1 to start, eventually Turtle kind of makes it a 2-on-3 from afar. And you can see Roth is dialed in on a Turtle. He does not want to allow this guy any more room to breathe. Doesn't want to give him the opportunity to get it in this next circle, as it has kind of shifted in Zenith's direction.
Turtle living up to his name there, just retreating his head back into his little dip shell that he's got so that way nobody can kill him. It's just a matter of if Crazy spots him out. Turtle, it looks like Crazy has a pretty good idea. He was paying attention to what was going on, heard the firefight, realized that there was an extra party that was involved, and there we go. Crazy's going to go and pick that one up. 5 kills, and now coming up for 4 AM. Buriram is kind of stuck along this eastern hillside and trying to see if maybe they can spot out what's going on and any remnants of what's going to be going into this position. Crazy looks like he's going to opt into playing along a similar point. This is going to hand up more favorable position for Zenith, as now there's going to be a third-party potential influencer into Buriram and Zenith fight. It's just a matter of which direction we're going to see Crazy looking.
Yeah, poor Crazy trying to see if there's anything available on the edges, because going up the center, yes, there is a hillside more towards the center of this circle, it's just very wide open, and both teams are going to have angles onto him. No, smoke wall out for Zenith, so they can really dial in on Crazy, keep the angles blocked off from Buriram, and they're going to accomplish that. Oh, actually, it's Godmeow that gets Crazy there. So, yeah, Crazy, he had 2 angles that he had to worry about, 2 teams looking at him. Now it is Zenith versus Buriram, Matt, a 2-team finale. And it's going to be 4 players for Zenith, 3 for Buriram. This should be a good finish.
Buriram has so many disadvantages against him, though. You can see they're already up against the safe zone. It's going to start to collapse. They're going to have to move. Sure, Buriram has a nice separated position. They've got sight lines. But as far as control, it's going to be Zenith. Look at how they're playing the cover. They're making sure to maneuver around this hillside that they've got. They've already got a card position up as well to provide them a little bit more vision and peaking potential coming out of it. Edie's already known exactly where they're at. You can see the smokes are coming through. It's just a matter of, can Buriram fight their way against this one? They've got their backs literally to the wall and with very little option. Punich takes a ton of damage, almost gets knocked, but no, it's going to be Roth that follows up. Godmeow already down. Edie gets retaliation knock onto it, but it's just going to be a smoke push coming out from Buriram. They don't have very many options. Hoping that maybe somebody looks in this direction and sees it. Maybe they go for a res. Tries to spot this one out. Edie manages to pick up another one. Zenith now has to try to figure out, do they commit towards a res? If they do so, that means that they're going to lose more control off of this positioning. Conaxi realizes that could be what's going on. Tries to exploit it. Instead, sneaks around and is creeped up right up on top of Zenith, but the defensive line smokes coming up for Zenith are quite strong. Conaxi narrowly survives that one. Drops back down. Shimboy takes a ton of damage as well. Edie now on the move. The last one up for his squad, trying to see if he can spot out the weakened Zenith. Grenades are starting to come rolling through this, but hasn't quite got the idea on where the positioning is. 2 members up, trying to get a third one, and they do manage to res Roth. But a good grenade's going to connect onto it. Edie lines up onto one, spots up the second one, and it is a clutch. Somehow Buriram fights their way through it.
These boys are insane. What a finish for Buriram. They were on the back foot. They're able to get it done. My word. Edie, filthy at the end there. What a flank. Oh my God. I mean, just what a 1-1 split there for Buriram, completely encapsulating Zenith. They had no idea, and they're able to get it. I mean, that is just what makes this team so special, Matt. When it comes to these close quarters combat situations, you never know what you're going to get from them.
They are such a scary squad. Whenever they decide to just, I don't know, hammer down the gas pedal and just send it, the way that they play, it seems chaotic. But you can see that there's a method to the madness. Whenever the smokes were coming out and Zenith opted into the res, that was such a risky play coming up from Zenith because they wanted to try to keep their numbers advantage. But instead, you can see exactly what Buriram was thinking. They're like, we can push into this and we can try to get a play off of it. But enough of us talking about it. We've got to rest. I got to get a drink after all that hype and energy that comes into the end of that one. So we're going to go ahead and throw it over to the analyst. You guys take it away.
Every player was present and accounted for. Zenith knew where everybody was, and in the end, it doesn't even matter. Cameron is still trying to figure out how the hell that happened. Cameron, what did you figure out?
That wasn't in the script that I got. Looking at the very end game, that was supposed to be Zenith's win. They had 4 up, they had the high ground, but it wasn't even just Eddie, even though he did deal massive damage. He picked up all of Zenith by himself. It was the fact that whenever Zenith tried to peek over that high ground that they had, Buriram made them pay for it time and time again. Whether it was a knock, whether it was even just knocking them very low and forcing them to heal. Paper said last weekend that Buriram are really, really good in field endings across the board, and that's exactly what that was, and they're just proving it to us once again. If you put these boys on a battlefield where it's just chaos running everywhere, this is where they shine.
Buriram playing the most part of that game out of La Bandita crater. Circles it towards the end do not favor them, but it didn't matter, Clover. Buriram, what is it about this team that's just so explosive?
Edie is insane. You give Edie the room to frag out and the support to frag out, and he's going to do exactly that. But, I mean, look at this damage as well for all 4 members of Zenith. And, you know, it's interesting as well to have these 2 teams at the end game, because there was that part there at the middle that Zenith and Buriram kind of met. That fight didn't really pop off. They pulled away from each other. So a little interesting to see them once again take that fight. But, I mean, this amount of damage that we're seeing out from Zenith as well, you know, when we say it should have been their win, that's why it was the amount of work and effort that all 4 members really had up there till the end, but Edie just absolutely denied it, even with only 2 up there for Buriram, just absolutely deadly.
Superstar players make superstar plays when the time matters most. Edie stepping up for Buriram. Let's see where that leaves them on the leaderboard. It's going to put them in, well, that's, I guess, is that our overall standing? Yeah, that's our overall standing. Zenith, look at that. Once again, back up there in first place. I remember seeing them in first place last week, Cam.
Unfortunately, it was first place in an entire different type of lobby. They are not going to get any prize pool here. Instead, they're just going to get, of course, more opportunities to get the chicken dinner next week during the week that's able to get to the final. But yeah, Zenith on top, Buriram in second. Furia, they had second last game all the way down in 9th place. So even after 2 games, we're seeing a little bit of roller coaster action. This is showing, once again, it's sort of what we say all the time, how consistency is important. Guys, consistency is important.
Consistency indeed is important, and a team that we haven't really talked about too much so far, but having a pretty decent day for themselves so far. Triumph Song Gaming up there in 3rd place. Who else on that leaderboard kind of sticking out to you, Clover? Who are you kind of looking at through these first 2 games on Miramar?
I mean, the team that we didn't really see much variance there was K7. They found another opportunity once again to frag out and put points on the board. I know it wasn't the most glorious way to put points on, but if you're a team and you know that, hey, your options are limited, this is the end, go back in the blue, find some kills, do something. I know it's a little bit trolly, but it's helping out K7 in the long run, not dip down out of the top 8. And that's kind of what we need to see them keep doing, some of these teams looking for those opportunities to find points.
I did receive notice halfway through that game that K7 is officially banned from North America scrims for trolling. Not sure that they were ever interested in taking part anyway, but regardless, that's what happens. We're going to take a quick break. When we come back, we'll be setting up for the second half of today's games. Guys, don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
to the battle, ready, set, fight. Welcome to the battle, ready, set, fight. Aim it and lock it, shoot. The winner takes it all. Shoot. Aim it and lock it. You know that nobody like me, cause I'm faster and I'm stronger. You can have me, let me guarantee. Cause the winner takes it all. You ready?
Well, we had a spicy one to finish out that last round. A smoke push to go ahead and clutch it up to give Buriram the victory. Paper, I feel like we're starting to get to that stage where it was like, okay, let's play it passive. Let's figure out what's going on. Let's try to make sure that we get our safety points, get into like good positioning. And it's starting to come apart now. It's that stage where, okay, we just got to start racking up the kills. We got to start getting the points.
Yeah, you can see a lot of teams are interested in making third parties. I mean, Team Liquid toyed around with a few of them and then really hard committed to that 4 a.m. versus TSM fight to try to finish that off. It just didn't quite work out for them. It wasn't quite as clean as they would have liked, and LG Divine kind of got involved as well with their own third party. So I think a lot of teams are hungry for points. A lot of teams are feeling the pressure. They want to come through. They want to, get all these kills. They want to have these big rounds and really give themselves the best opportunity possible, of course, to come into those qualifying rounds for the final week, give themselves that win to get into the big money of week number 6. And for Damwon Kia, man, you're seeing them on your screen. It is disastrous. They cannot find their footing in any situation, whether that be their meta gameplay, their strategic play with their rotations and their early game positioning, or their fights. We saw that in the last game, Matt. They got wrecked.
That prize pool marker right there. That's I know that hurts you. I know that hurts you a little bit there, just having the null marker in position. This is a team that, whenever we look at the firepower, like we've seen Under have phenomenal moments, but just haven't been able to gel. Shoot to kill. A team that was showing a lot of promise in the earlier sections of this. When we looked at the earlier weeks, they were stepping up. That's where they racked up a lot of their money. But since then, having a little bit of a struggle. They're making smart plays, like we saw during the weekly finals. We saw them the weekly survivals. We regularly saw them getting into the later stages, getting so close to taking home a survival round victory and moving into the finals, but just being consistently denied.
Yeah, it's looking like it's a bit of a struggle to really get everything kind of reorganized and resituated for SDK. And there's been the jokes made that, has anybody, been keeping track of me with Damwon Kia struggling so much? My hair is falling out, I'm drinking a lot of soju, et cetera, et cetera. Trust me, I'm doing okay. But with SDK, man, I feel like I'm starting to worry about you, man. With these NA boys, it's been a struggle for them, Matt. Is the hair okay? Is everything fine?
I'm fine. I got faith in all my North American teams. I got 2 North American teams in the final coming up later on today.
You do.
What you talking about
You
over
do.
there? Don't come at me with your
I got
bold
3
hate
Korean
there.
teams. my bold hate. What can I say? My bold head. It's not a 5 head. It's a bold head I got going on up here. It's even better. So, I think, it's been kind of back and forth for a lot of the regions and a lot of the teams, as you would expect through a 6-week event. There's going to be ups and downs throughout the whole thing.
That's just kind of the nature of the beast with this. Whenever you're looking at it, the big question that I have for a lot of these teams is the mental tax that has been told upon them, as we are now getting everything set to make our way into Erangel for our 3rd map of the day. How well can you rebound from being constantly denied in the survival series? Trying to find ways to work on Miramar that just don't come together. How many of these teams that are now, such as Buriram, starting to find a stride in these later weeks? Can they continue to push it forward? And can we see these teams get into good placement positionings to try to make sure that they make a statement in the finals for next week?
Absolutely. I mean, all eyes, in my opinion, are on a couple of these teams like TSG. Damwon Kia, in particular, have not had the best of starts to the day. TSG had a pretty good first round, but it wasn't, the greatest. And for Damwon Kia, it's been quite disappointing for the first 2 games. So They really need to get it turned around now if they're going to, come through. And the conspiracy theory in Korea, Matt, is that Damwon Kia is sandbagging and saving their best strats for the last week. But they got to get themselves into a position where they play enough games to qualify for that last week. So we'll see if that's true or not. And for AAA, we do see Bob Lee in here today, subbing in for them, as they've had a very rough go of it the last couple times, just not even getting to play in the qualifying weeks because of their 32nd position. So, they're looking to find some kind of success, and they're second to last to start this one out with 2 points, tied with SDK.
So you can see the circle has popped. It's got the river that runs right through it. We were talking about this a lot during the survival series. This is a little bit of a gambled situation. You make your assumption on which way you think that the circle is going to go, north or south of the river, and pray that you do not have to reposition later on, because that can lead to a lot of problematic rotations. Just when you've got that river running through, it denies a lot of opportunities and allows for teams that are already in defendable positions to set up very long range bridge harassment. It's not necessarily a bridge camp. It's more often than not just decimating people that are trying to cross these little different positions in these small bridges to make their way north or south. Do have a couple of teams back down military base. Nothing to worry about here. Phase, shoot to kill. These guys know how to handle these positions. Should rotate through. Doesn't mean the fact that they're going to have the longest distance that they're likely going to have to travel, with the exception of maybe Ince, who's chilling over in Primorsk.
Yeah, I think for these teams down in the south, we don't have infantry in this lobby, so I think you probably don't have to worry about a bridge camp. I don't expect Damwon Kia to do it. Maybe TSG does, but that's typically not TSG's MO. They typically don't like to do those kind of things. They're more of a, play it normal, play it, get in the circle, make your rotations kind of team. They typically don't camp bridges. You never know, though. Who knows? It is kind of the last requalifying. So you might see some teams kind of, get the kitchen sinks out and start throwing them, because you got to get the points. You got to put yourself in that good position. The number one team out of here gets 15 games to play to try to qualify for that final weekend for the biggest prize pool, and you definitely don't want to miss out on it. So I think that's part of why, frankly, Matt, you and I have been talking about this on and off the air, that it feels like teams are pressing a little bit today, that there's a lot of aggression, and that's causing, I think, some mistakes, not just rotationally, but also mechanically.
Well, you were talking about the meme that was going on where you got to save your strategies for the last week. You can't do that. We're in the bottom 16. You have to get good qualified positions. If you've got any strategies, anything that you have not shown your hand with, this is where you have to use them. You need to make sure that you're in a prime position to have the best chance of success to make it into the finals. Because again, your qualification right here, your placements set you up for whenever a team wins, moves into the finals in the survival series, that another team steps in, and it's all based off of this leaderboard. If you're down towards the bottom of this leaderboard right now, you are definitely starting to get nervous about positioning. A couple of teams already concerned with positioning inside this circle. 4 a.m. making their rotation. It should be pretty clean. The closest team that's going to be close to them is going to be Divine. That'll be to the east of them, but not really in a position where they're going to try to be contesting rotations off of this bridge. That's more off of the Yasnaya bridge, if anything. No teams in a massive rush to rotate just yet. Our early teams that kind of like to get positioning first as a primary and like to play center already made their rotations. A lot more of our, I guess, slow rotators, edge teams, they're the ones that are kind of just making sure that they get their loot situation as firm as they can.
Yeah, exactly. For 4 a.m., this is a pretty typical rotation for them to try to get up to the north. They set up along that hillside just north of the Razak Bridge. They'll maybe camp teams that try to cross that bridge, use that information to watch, particularly their south and their east, see what's going on over there, see what teams are doing, trying to get over the other side of the river. And then if it also does end up going south, which it still has a potential to do, they open themselves up nicely to get back over there if they so choose. So you can see they might push up further up the hill, just kind of see what's going on around them. They get a lot of information here. They're not going to opt to camp the bridge this time around, so a little bit different of a formation for 4 a.m. Looking to maybe hedge their bets and say that, okay, we think this one's probably going to go north. Let's regroup. And it's quite interesting to see them grouped up as 4 this early, Matt, to be honest. Usually there's got to be just kind of roaming around,
Especially in that compound as well, because it doesn't always have the best vision. With those barricaded windows, you do get a little bit of sight lines, but it really also denies a lot of capabilities to shoot out from. So that was a little bit of a modification coming out from 4AM that, well, I guess they're in 8th place and they're thinking maybe let's just try to keep our numbers together and try to get something together. Oh, nope. There he goes. Okay. That was just a little bit more of an initialized scout. I was like, no, this is just weird.
Maybe a loot
But
transfer.
Iroh's going to go ahead and get some vision onto that one. Almost goes down, but there's the follow-up shot's going to be coming through. So Iroh is going to go ahead and have to surrender this positioning as well as his life. Crazy did go down and is getting slightly harassed, but he should be able to make it into cover. Smoke's going through, and it's going to be AAA and TSM doing a little bit of harassment into this, and Forever taking a lot of damage as well.
Ooh, yeah, this, for what 4AM is going to get out of this night might not be that great. There's another knock onto Forever from Gems, and Jair is starting to pour it on as well. So like you mentioned, a couple different teams looking into this fight and really trying to punish 4AM's rotation. And I suspect, Matt, that push into that compound was just potentially just a regrouping to give some gear and kind of, make an equanimous situation between all the teams. But this is turning out to be a complete disaster for them, trying to get to finish onto Iroh. They committed all their resources, and they are losing a ton of members.
That's one of those that you had nice, safe position, all 4 members up, you extend out, and it just blows up in your face. I feel you, 4AM. It's happened to me a whole bunch. And let's be real, it's happened to everybody that's ever played PUBG. Furia, you can see stretching their legs, saying, hey, there's some potential points to be had. And that was a almost universal tag team by everybody in the lobby around that position to say, oh, 4AM, you're making an aggressive play early? Well, let's see if we can get anything out of this, as they were being harassed from so many different angles. But we had TSM, Divine, AAA, I think that Detonation White had a touch of vision in that, and then Furia also trying to get involved. That's a rough spot to be in, and that's kind of the hazard of playing along that hillside. Whenever you look over there, that everything that's on the other side of the river to the south can potentially have not the best vision, but there's a lot of teams that can get some sight on what's going on that hill.
Yeah, I would have rather seen 4AM do what they usually do there. They just kind of tried something a little different and, really went for that commit onto that wizard where Iroh is all alone, and they haven't made any friends. I tell you what, they're a team that fights you anytime they see you from their vehicles. They're always shooting at everything, so everybody's pretty keen to try to punish them for any mistake they make. You can see it doesn't help that they're out in the open on that hillside that is exposed to, like you said, about 5 different teams. So it is what it is for 4AM, and they're going to have to lick their wounds and try to come through with 2 to see what they can come out of this round with. Ents has settled up on the western edge coming out of Primorse. They're not even the last team into the circle. It's going to be SDK is going to be getting that prize for this particular round coming out of the military base. There's a huge split for Buriram down on the southwestern edge that they might have to potentially contend with. It kind of depends. Canaxi's up on Everest there. He's just watching and getting the information. So it depends on what SDK wants to do, Matt.
Buriram's growth in this, as we see shoot to kill approach where they might be getting shot at by them, has been pretty impressive. We saw them be very aggressive in the earlier stage of this, and I had a couple of clutch moments, but it wasn't consistent yet. They hadn't really gelled. They hadn't quite figured out how all the other teams play, and that aggression was kind of biting them. To see them say, hey, you know what? We're still going to continue to find a way to make this work for us, and now finding success, I love to see that coming out from the roster. Kia making a quick run right up into K7, leaving Savior. Savior does have a little bit of support from his teammates as well, but he's in let's be real, a pretty precarious situation right now. His whole life depends on the fact of can his teammates cover him enough, as we see the circle is going to go towards the north, and so at least means that he's not going to have to move yet, but that means that there's a lot of teams that are probably going to take up positions to the east of this, so Savior's spot for right now is safe, but soon about to not be.
I like the angle that our observers just showed us there of Savior, because they showed us the entire eastern side, like half of that compound from like south to north. They showed us the entire eastern half. Why is that important? There's no vehicles for Savior here. There's nowhere for him to run. He is completely stuck there, so there's no safety valve for him to get out to the rest of his team. Yeah, you have Zenon on the other side of the road, but you have to cross that very dangerous road to get there. Well, speaking of danger, there is GEX sitting near Triumphant Zone Gaming territory, and wow, Leo gets the knock, but then he runs himself over. question mark. What in the world happened over there? Now Malier's going down. It's just Peng EGM left here for Triumphant Sound Gaming, trying to really cover both sides around these broken down vehicles. He's going to see one around the corner. It's a good flank attempt here, but CC taking a whole bunch of damage, and the flank is real. Jan Lee going to get it done. Leo's car must have not had the safety brake on because it came rolling at him.
Well, we were expecting it to be a Burram shoot-to-kill fight. Instead, it's going to be a Liquid shoot-to-kill. We were rolling along next to each other, taking some pot shots between the two of them, but no real drops that have happened on either side. TSM is going to be rolling in right back behind this one, so Team Liquid might have to keep a little bit of an eye back behind them rather than just in front of them. See a lot of the teams opting into playing a little bit more towards the north. Savior still alive, got himself that smoke down, but I think we're starting to see other teams taking up positions that might make it a little bit more difficult. TSM gets the inside track into positioning, has themselves a comfortable position that they can now play from. EV looks like he was trying to harass a little bit, and they may be contemplating, but not without a knock. You don't push that compound unless you get 1 to 2 knocks into it.
Yeah, absolutely. There's no reason to get aggressive onto that yet. I know that TSM lost a member. I know they lost Pyro early, but there's just no reason for Team Liquid to get involved in that. The circle's too big. There's still room to go around it if necessary, assuming they have vehicles left, which I'm going to assume that they do. It's still pretty early, so yeah, you can see Savior still in a bad spot. Shoot to kill. Did manage to avoid crossing paths with Buriram. Buriram has packed it up and actually is wrapping all the way over to the other side of the circle. They're heading east around Yasnaya Polonia, and it's going to be Severity territory for STK, but nobody's up there right now. It's pretty wide open. Circle shift is definitely going to bring this north of the river, and that's why Buriram making this shift. This is a pretty typical one. Teams like to come through the northern side of Yasnaya. There's a lot of cover, a lot of foliage to kind of mask your movements, and you can kind of change verticality very quickly, but here is, oh boy, Kale drives right into Clib. Clib making it look easy there, and I don't know, it's a little bit over aggressive there for Dom1 Kia driving up to a hill with no information. That's you could just see that's kind of the vehicle's getting sent all the way down the hill.
Here, we'll go ahead and for your Savior. I know it's a little broken and it doesn't have tires, but you now have a way to get out.
Oh man, Matt. Well, that right there is in a nutshell of the problems Dom1 Kia has faced. They're making moves that just don't make any sense, and they're paying for it.
This circle shift and now goes towards the river. A lot of teams not expecting this. You can see most of them playing towards the north, leaning a little bit more towards Stalber, Severny, and now we've got the giant lake that's just to the west of Yasnaya that's going to be in play. Bridges still a factor. The only team that still leaned into the south was going to be Zenith, who can see kind of what's going on with AAA right now, as well as Divine. But Divine is in a ridiculously strong spot if they play this well for this circle.
Absolutely. It is a very, very good spot. It's kind of where I expected 4AM, to be honestly, but due to whatever the circumstances were, they decided to make some different decisions. And you can see Team Liquid has to make a move now. They are going to be driving past the gas station, looking for, looks like, yeah, the gas station is going to be where they're going to settle up for now. Not a bad position at all in this particular circle. There are going to be a lot of compounds on the northern side of the river where this is still more likely to end up, even with that hard shift down to the south. But Seas under a little bit of pressure. Here comes FaZe, this time looking to get a little revenge on a Detonation Gaming White for round number 1, and they're going to find it. Seas is down and out. So FaZe pushes down to the lake house, and this is a dangerous one, though, for any team, and there isn't a lot of room to maneuver inside of those rectangular houses.
Yeah, the only real benefit is the fact that everybody is in a struggled position that's going to be playing around them as well. The lake could be the biggest problem to contend with, as well as the hillside, for God meow. That's okay. It righted itself. He'll be A-okay with this one. Buron being one of the last teams approach, shoot to kill. Also looks like they're trying to find themselves a little bit of a spot. Found a shack, and it looks like they're going to roll up into that. It does have that hillside to provide a little bit of cover for their vehicles. 4AM playing, I believe, just a dip off of this position. Gex, you saw them make their push to go ahead and get a fortified spot right now. Going to be rewarded for it, but it is pretty close to the edge of the zone. It should be noted that Shoot to Kill still has Luke 12 back and is looking into the K7 Kia situation that's kind of going on. As Savior is still alive, but is going to have to move sooner or later. This is no longer inside the safe zone.
Yeah, this is now, I mean, Kia probably would have liked to have found the opportunity to get rid of Savior. They were never able to do it. Detonation Gaming White lost one to FaZe earlier, and now they have to go through the buzzsaw of our Game 2 winners, Buriram. These guys just crazy good have we seen before. Machao, no slouch himself, one of the best fraggers in Japan. The guy is widely considered to be the best talent that the region has to offer. And, well, you can see Damwon Kia never really able to get that fight kicked off successfully against K7. Savior has just been able to hang out on this fence. That's pretty interesting that he is able to get away with it. Oh, what's going on with Sungjang? Is he waiting? Are they kind of baiting to try to get Savior?
What is even happening right now? I am so confused. Yeah, I think he heard the footsteps, but he was inside of a vehicle, so I don't know. Maybe it was a little bit of scouting, but what are you going to get out of this? Finally, they managed to take out the rat that's been hanging out next to him, but the cost has been losing a lot of placement and positioning with 53 people still alive. This is an overcommit, in my opinion, for one kill. Look at how much blue zone damage they're taking. They have no easy approach into the safe zone. I mean, what is the plan here other than just
Indigo's going to get knocked.
Roll in, crash something, and kill it? But
He's dead.
Yeah, I don't understand what's happening here at all.
It's mistake after mistake after mistake for Damwon Kia. Now Under's going to go down. He got hurt. That's it. So it's going to be Sungjang left in that compound by himself with a bunch of broken up vehicles to try to do something. It's really just mind-boggling what's going on with Damwon Kia. It's like they're more tilted than I've seen maybe any team in the history of PUBG be tilted right now. They're just completely off their rockers. It's just crazy. Well, SDK has been aggressed on by GX here, Matt. This is quite interesting to see CC push out this far, and he's going to pay the price. Halo's going to take him down. I don't know if I agree with this move by GX. Leo's going to go down. It's just Yan Lee left. I know they have to make a move, but it's going to be Yan Lee trying to spray him down from the side. Not going to happen. Gets taken out of the vehicle. I understand they have to make a move here, but right into SDK, that's a tough one.
That did not work in their favor, and even if they managed to survive that, there was K7 that's got a little bit of a supervision point that they can come into this. Kia, all right, so you're out in the zone. You're just
congrats.
Get you some kill points, man. Sure, that's what you take. What you can get at this stage. You got a kill on the person that mattered, and then you got a second up follow-up kill on something. Buriram, now a little bit more aggressive point. They're going to go ahead and send it in. Remember, we just saw them back over in no lean, so they're going to be rolling through, and it's really an option of wherever they want to go. We know that Buriram will do Buriram things and send it wherever their heart desires.
I really wish I had some hair so I could mess it up to make it look bad. That's how I feel watching those Damwon Kia decisions that they're making in this game. It just feels like I'm exhausted and it's been a long day. Grenades good from Fuzzface. Going to get Rustin Martin knocked here. More grenades coming in. Going to finish the job. Diggory being prone. Not taking quite as much damage from those frags. Able to just survive at half health for now. Tiksu inside of the shack. Those grenades exploding around him. Not able to get inside of the door. So not finding any damage. Vehicles are proving to be a problem as they are starting to explode around him as well. That one's on fire, Tiksu! Oh my god, he almost died, but he does get a grenade and a knock himself. Here comes LG Divine wanting to third party this fight.
But look at how much utility has been spent on both sides in what's going to be a very flat circle. Whoever wins this is not going to have the resources to get anything out of it because both teams are using everything that they've got just to survive from this point. Circle doesn't even stay here, so this fight has to contest it. It has to finish quickly. Sure, FaZe have the numbers advantage off of it, but the next play for them is going to be so ridiculously hard. Diggory, now I believe the last one up for ends as shots come out from shoot to kill, and Luke 12 is going to go ahead and connect onto it. Diggory now moving forward, holds up, gets the shots onto one, and gets the flush onto Gustav before going down. So FaZe do manage to get control over this position that is not inside the safe zone and going to have to move in just a second.
You know, I have to give FaZe a lot of credit. They do such a good job working with open space situations on Erangel. They really know how to navigate things, how to push with the timing. I know they lose one to Diggory, but frankly, that was a tough fight for them, and they win it. They get a little help from LG Divine doing some damage into Ents as well, but that's no easy fight, no doubt about it, and they are able to make it work, so love to see that from them. Buriram under pressure. That's a really good grenade right next to them. They're able to dance away from it just enough. A follow-up onto Godmeow catches him for even more. Nawadra's just going to push right up into the smoke. Going to try to hold a front line into this push, see if he can catch members of SDK unawares that he's made it up to here.
This is their secret to success. Last time they pushed the smokes, they went ahead and counterflanked around this. If he moves back behind, shoots a kill, he's going to find so many open targets. Gets the lineup on one. Quick flush, jumps back into the smoke. These guys are playing with ninja-style strategy right now. K7 comes alive, gets the knock onto another one. Just one up for Burram, runs back into position, spots out, shoots a kill, gets the spray onto him. So Burram manages to survive the fight, but just barely.
These guys are absolutely nuts. They're so smart at tactical situations. What I mean by that, close quarters combat situations, they just make fantastic decisions, and their shooting on top of it is just top tier. So there you go. They do go down, but they pick up quite a few kill points along the way. Godby, the only one left now for 4AM. They're at least able to make top 8, get at least a placement point out of suffering losses very, very early on in this round. And FaZe, as good as they are in open space, they've used a lot of smokes, they've used a lot of utility. It's a tough run to get into this next circle for them. It's just the power tower there, but they do have a UAS potentially. I'm not sure what the tires are like. I think they're all good based on the angle. Yeah, it's smoking a bit, but okay, the front right tire is out.
Make do with what you've got. They had to use that utility earlier. They had to take that fight, and the cost was really high. But with this, they're trying to get into a new spot. Has to stop right before the safe zone. Vehicle explodes in front of Fuzz's face, and now he's having to just juke around trying to get into a covered point. Too many different angles, too many people shooting at him, and there's nowhere for him to go. That's going to be FaZe getting eliminated. So good defensive line holding up for Team Liquid and Divine both. Now we're going to start to see a little bit more teams come alive based off of positioning. The last Angry Man still playing down inside the smoke, and which direction is the circle going to shift? If it goes up towards the north, it could be quite favorable for Liquid, but no, it's going to go back down to AAA's positioning, as well as Zenith, now holding a good high ground advantage.
Well, it was LG Divine and Team Liquid trying to see who could be the first to finish Godby off, and it's going to be Team Liquid picking up that point. 4 kills in the bag for them, 2 for LG Divine, but LG Divine down a member. Team Liquid might try to take a fight. They have to fight each other eventually. This is a good opportunity. You've got a good hill line here. You've got the numbers advantage. You still have a vehicle as well, so you might be able to get a pretty good flank onto LG Divine. You're going to need a little bit of cover fire here for your teammate over towards TSM. 3 up for them, even losing Iroh very, very early on. Still very, very healthy, and now they're looking at Furia, who has no clue Vard is here.
Oh, this is just dirty. Look at TSM's positioning around this. Miraku can counter move around it. Furia has no idea this is coming. Team Liquid, you can see that in the Divine fight, did have Clip go down, but that should be plenty of time to res with this one. So Divine now out, and that's going to give Liquid a little bit more control over the north. While they do have that positioning that they can play, they're not going to be in the best of positions after reposition. Bar goes for the spray onto one, gets the second one as well. Looks back to the other 2 members of Furia, and look at the information feed that he's got. He knows exactly what's happening everywhere. Let's just go ahead and hit a headshot as well. Furia in a world of trouble right now. TSM's positioning and the way they're playing this is so clean.
And those are great smokes from Vard here. Good grenade. Almost gets the knock onto him. Just not quite deep enough. He's got to avoid that one as well. Wow, just barely. Vard pushing up through the smoke. But now the other members of TSM who are disjointed from their teammates find a full attack all-around team in their way. And already one knocked. So for TSM, Vard may well be the only hope. He's got a 1v2 coming up against Furia. Very doable with the Groza in that level 3 gear, though. Miraku does get the res here. And so, okay, well, TSM still kicking.
I mean, they're kicking, but they're kicking against the wall right now. Vard has to string something together, and he manages to do it. Gets the knock on to kill Demo. Now it's just going to be Rusty Zero, the last one up. Rusty Zero opting to play around the smoke, but spots out all the members from TSM rolling into position, feeds the information back around, and yet again, it's going to be another peek back out from Vard. You just got to say it, man. That was just some good play coming out from TSM there, realizing the risk inside of the position, regrouping. So now TSM, Team Liquid, splitting control over the north, and then to the south, it's going to be AAA and Zenith.
I mean, able to get into that vehicle and then get to Vard is huge. TSM, that is so smart, so well played. Vard doing a fantastic job with that Groza, buying time with some really good smokes to cut off the only window that Furia had to see him. That's just excellent, excellent decision-making and play from TSM. I got to give them all the credit in the world. Now, they're in a world of hurt with Team Liquid looking at them and with that circle shifting away from them like that. But a hell of a round so far for them. 4 teams up, 2 with 4, 2 with 3. So This one's going to be an interesting finish. We've got a lot of teams very healthy. Could be another exciting finish.
Especially with the terrain. This is a slope hillside fight, without a doubt. It's going to be about gathering information and finding good angles. Speaking of, Punaj manages to rack in one very easily. Going to go ahead and take down Jayers. Zenith is going to be in control of a nice little bit of a position where they can continue to kind of watch what's going on. Team Liquid playing the low side of the hill already has vision and awareness on where TSM is playing. TSM really the only team that's going to be forced to make a major move out of this. They do have the vehicles. We saw them bring them over just a second ago. Question comes into play. How damaged are they? What options do they have really to make a play with this? And it looks like they're starting to line up a smoke wall. I wouldn't be surprised if they're using this to maybe just try to get a little bit of speed to move forward, but they're going to have to do that fairly quickly. You can see already prepping up, getting their meds into good position, and now they're just going to have to roll down the hillside. Where are they going to opt into going, though? Smokes down, provides the wall, provides a little bit of cover. Jean's got the angle on one. Nice connection onto Miraku to take him down real quick off of this one. Glib's got another angle, and it looks like Team Liquid is opting to go back up the hillside, and it's not working out too well for them. It's just too many different counterpoints. Team Liquid now at 11 kills at this stage of the game.
Looking really good for Team Liquid right now, but in that transition, they have almost lost Jeems. You can see Mexi sprinting to try to get to his teammate, to try to get the res. Bob Lee potentially looking at that as well. Zenith trying to make their move around the eastern side, try to gather as much real estate as they can in this circle while Team Liquid is busy. But now they're under pressure from AAA. Gems with some really nice SKS shots. Finds Shinboy. They do try to put the vehicle in front of him to go for the res. Really smart to get on top of this roof for Gems. That's a huge positional advantage that he's able to utilize from up there. Gonna see a lot of the circle. Ooh, Molly time. If this one lands, it's gonna be really good for Clib.
I think they managed to reposition away from it. You can see the Team Liquid, aware of what was going on, was trying to get a play out of it. And now it's going to be Zenith finding themselves in a pinched position. Kickstart, though, gets the lineup onto Jeems. All right, Jims, I'm sorry. It's very difficult when we got Jims and Jeems together. Kickstart now having to make a little bit of a play over here towards it. I think that he can spot out where we see AAA playing from, but defensive smoke's coming in, and you can see that AAA were the aggressors in this. They wanted this fight, but they're being rooted out of position from the aggression that Zenith is bringing towards them.
Well, Zenith is just showing why they won a week. They're so good. They're so aggressive. They land their shots. They're very clean. They're very effective. All of their players have leveled up. They've been talking a lot about it on social media, how they've all been really focusing on their micro play, their shooting, their recoil control, these kind of things, trying to get better. And you're seeing it's paying dividends as now they are going to push at AAA's position, recognizing that this is the better opportunity for them. They know the situation. Bob Lee gets some decent damage through the planks in the window. Doesn't quite get the knock, though, yet, as they are really trying to swarm around here. But Bob Lee's going to go outside. Punaj, I don't know if he's going to be ready for this. He's not. It's going to be Punaj taken down. Great move by Bob Lee.
The beneficiary of all of this is going to be Team Liquid. These two teams opting to play right up on top of each other is going to allow more opportunities for Team Liquid. You can see Zenith trying to get a little bit of advantage on top of the house, going to be forced away from it. Attack all around, now having to play a very defensive position, realizing that they are being swarmed. Multiple angles of aggression being brought against them. And yes, they do have a house, but it is right along the edge of the zone, so it provides very little sustenance for the later stages of this game. Zenith just waiting on the outside, and Team Liquid already in a position trying to wait this one out as well. But look, Kickstart brings in the aggression, spots it out, and says, you're not even safe in here. Now we're down to just two teams. Team Liquid's got the outside. They've got double the man advantage. Two members of Zenith hunkered down. They fought for the fight, or fought for this house. They got the kills, but now what are they going to do against a very strong Team Liquid?
Well, let's see if Zenith can recover from that 2v4 they lost to Buriram in the last game and maybe get a 2v4 of their own. With those shots that Kickstart just had inside that house, that was incredible. Pre-firing around the corner towards the table, really nicely done. He has been just a treat to watch throughout this tournament, and he has been a big reason why Zenith has been finding the success they have. But this one's going to be a tough order, a tall task, no doubt about it. Is he really just are they really just going to, yep, they're just going to call it GG right here. That they're going to burn themselves and end this round, but it's a grenade! They get the points! Ibiza gets it in there! Team Liquid gets the win! Oh, no sir, says Team Liquid.
I love it. Great awareness coming up from Team Liquid. The Molotov only assisting and bringing down the health to make sure that the grenade finishes it out. 13 kills and a strong finish from Team Liquid. And remember, They were in the thick of a lot of fights inside of that. They garnered and forced so many odd rotations from teams. They had to push up a hillside to even get to this point. They realized what was going on around them and were consistently trying to third party to find advantage upon advantage. Just so well played by Team Liquid.
Yeah, even though they kind of stumbled at the beginning of this one, Mexi gave them a little bit of recovery mentally, holding on through game number 1, doing a good job being a solo, picking up some extra points. Game number 2, they had some opportunities for aggression that they didn't capitalize on. Instead, they decided to opt for a center circle, then got aggressive, got some points, but kind of got third-partied a bit in return. This time around, all of the decisions are good. Their third parties are great. 13 kills. What a grenade there at the end.
Just such great awareness. If they had timed that just a second or two later, they wouldn't have been able to get anything out of it. It would have already been over, but we are over for now. We still have one more round, but we're going to go ahead and throw it back over to Poro and game on the analyst desk. Take it away, guys.
As the boys on the cast let us know, Team Liquid, it seemed like a matter of if, not when, or when, not if, rather, that they would get a big win like this, and it turns out to be this game as Liquid clutches out from the low ground, from the gas station, Cameron.
Yeah, we actually having a conversation during this match where once that circle, I believe it was phase 3, shift down towards the river, Divine were actually holding a 2-2 split of their own between the gas station and another grandma's house just to the east of it. And we were having a discussion of would Divine have been more successful holding the gas station compared to bringing all the members to the grandma's house, because with the phase 4 shift away from water, it was all but guaranteed that that gas station was going to be dead center. And the main thing is that the gas station can be a difficult thing to hold just because you can shoot under those walls around it, but of the open area surrounding it is also going to be difficult to push. And it turns out that, I'm not gloating here, but Liquid did maintain that center position, and then with the fact that all the other teams around them didn't have a lot of, or really any room, any terrain to play behind at all, they were able to clearly, methodically clear their space one team at a time and then slowly push into the end game.
Well, if the boys from Zenith wanted to be real sick and cool and go change their name into more elite speak, they could definitely replace that Z with a 2, and it would be very, very fitting as they find themselves in second once again, just showing a remarkable amount of consistency, Clover.
You know what? The consistency is key, and week after week, we've seen Zenith find opportunities to frag out. Obviously, on the weekly survival, that isn't something that really helps out without that chicken dinner. But as we keep going into the weekends, we're finding in survival that it's really their place to shine. Now, obviously, not having a chicken dinner, they don't get to take this play and take it up there in the finals. But I think that if we can see Zenith continue to play like this through this weekend, get a chicken dinner early on, scary, great things could happen for them potentially next weekend. But on the flip side of that, there's a couple of teams right now that are not fragging out, and it is heartbreaking, Poro.
Oh, I know it is. It's absolutely devastating stuff, and just because I have to look, I have to pick on Paper Thin just a little bit more here by twisting the dagger just a little bit. But Damwon Kia, in the entirety of PGI.S, have won 3 games. 2 of those were in ranked decision. Their last win came in the reseeding games of week 1 on February 14th. That is over a month ago. And, obviously a lot of these teams probably have not had a win since then. But Cameron, that is not something that you expect from a team that was touted as one of the best, if not the best team to come out of one of the best regions in PUBG in the world.
They've been more consistently bad than they have good over the course of PGI.S. It really was just last weekend that gave us maybe a glimmer of hope, but I was tentatively watching because we've been burned way too many times before, and I said it actually last weekend that they have to do it consistently before I'm back on board in the fan train. The team that I am the most disappointed with right now, I have to say it, is got to be SDK. They are second to last on the overall leaderboard after 3 games. It has been just not a great run for them out there, and I'll be honest, I don't exactly know what the real issue is. The previous game, it really was just getting caught off guard by Buriram playing in the smokes, as well as that final member of K7, Buyohu, hanging out right behind them in that chaos. That would be hard for any team to maintain their composure. But the fact that that game is not the only bad game they've had 3 subpar games in a row. When you contrast that with other teams that are supposed to be the better teams in this lobby that are performing well, like Zenith, it's very disappointing.
It's been rough stuff. And that was an absolutely, I mean, they got styled on by Buriram there, but looks like we're about to head into this last lobby, the last game of the day. I want to give you something clever, but I'm not going to do it this time. I'm not going to set you up for failure. Instead, I am going to hold on to it. I'm going to death grip this son of a gun, because we've got one game left to go for today before we set up for the final for tomorrow. The stress is on, the pressure is there. Let's see what we get from our final game of the day. Paper Thin, Matchroom, bring us on home.
Pressure mounting. One game left for today. We're hitting that halfway point as we finish this one out. If you want to make a statement, if you want to get into a good position to give you a favorable spot, to go ahead and give you a chance to get into that massive prize pool that is going to be next week's finals, you have got to perform now. There is nothing left. You have to make sure that anything that you've brought, any strategy, anything that you've collected in all your time playing competitive PUBG, this is when you bring it. Now the question comes into play, Paper Thin. Do these teams have the mentality to bring it at this stage if you're down towards the bottom? Do you think that it's just been too mentally taxing, or do you think that maybe we'll start to see some signs of life for these teams that are down towards the bottom? And some favorable situations, shoot to kill Kia, it feels like it's a little bit rough for them, but Ince has just been constantly being harassed by multiple teams.
Yeah, it definitely, for Ents, they've been in positions where they've been third-partied on their fights, and they've lost some fights that they probably could have won, potentially, but it is what it is. It's just sometimes it isn't your day, but today, oh my goodness gracious, that is an absolutely banger of a circle to start us out on this one. But yeah, to go to your point, I mean, Matt, this is probably the most pressure that these teams are going to face outside of the qualifying rounds coming up next week. You have to get into a position to put yourself into that final weekend, because there is no more requalifying. There is no more bottom 16 games after this. This is it. These are the last ones, and you want to play as many games as possible. So yeah, for SDK, for Kia, for Ents, for GEX, for AAA, you're not even in double-digit points 3 games in. That is not good. And I don't know. I'm starting to really worry about Kia in particular. Everything I'm seeing from them is just mind-boggling. They don't seem to have their heads screwed on straight. And I don't know if it's going to take some kind of crazy amount of just yelling at them, or maybe they need to go out and just party for it. I have no idea. Whatever is going on is not working, and something has to change between today and tomorrow for them to have any kind of hope of having a decent week next week.
And remember, whichever team is in that last position here, they're done. They don't get a chance to play again, because naturally there's already 16 teams. As you take one down, pass it around, and bring in more teams, that's it. If you're in the 16th place spot at the end of tomorrow, you're officially done with PGI.S. And so, yeah, okay, we're talking towards the top of the leaderboard. That's great. But to just have to spend the last week watching everybody else have an opportunity you don't have will be mentally destroying to a certain degree. Now, on the other side of this, Zenith, Team Liquid, Buriram, FaZe TSM, and even you can see the fact that TSG Divine and Detonation White all tied up with each other. There's still plenty of opportunities for these teams. We're only going to be hitting the halfway point. So there is a chance to turn it all around tomorrow, figure out what's going on. But the opportunities are just getting more and more limited, which means the fact that more and more pressure is going to mount, especially when you look at a circle like this that is majority water. Buriram playing in Milta Power area, already in a strong position. A lot of these teams know the fact that this is a difficult position to rotate into. So now you already know we've got to come in. We've got to bring firepower, and we have got to be ready to fight the moment the boots hit the ground.
Exactly. This one's going to be a little bit wild, no doubt about it. Detonation Gaming White is going to prioritize the lumber mill as their starting point for this round, trying to get on top of the hill. Even though it is kind of you can't get a lot of information from the top of this hill, unlike a lot of others on the map. This one has too many trees covering the top of it, so you don't get to see much from the inside of it. However, it is central. It is defendable. It has a lot of cover. You can at least try to hide your vehicles better than in some other spots of the map. TSG making a rotation underneath Milta, underneath FaZe, and these are, FaZe fans know they're excited when they see these Milta circles. These are FaZe circles, no doubt about it. They're not coming out of Milta power like normal, but I don't expect them to have that really affect them too much. The rotational difference coming out of those two spots, not particularly huge.
Whenever you have a circle like this that pops on your quote-unquote home territory, means the fact that you know this terrain more often than not. You know how to handle every single dip, every single positioning. Speaking of dips and positioning, Curry manages to spot out Roth. Quick little sneaky play coming out from him. The rest of Zenith now going to have to figure out how they want to respond. On the other side of this, Detonation and White already trying to shift a little bit of their defensive line to provide a touch of support. Look at the pickups coming on with this one. Zenith is in first place right now, but it looks like it might not be for too much longer. This is a good set of plays coming out from Detonation and White.
Yeah, they had themselves in great crossfires to help provide protection onto Gokuri. Machao going to get the finish. He almost got a second knock onto Kickstart as well. He got that drag, got the headshot, and now Kickstart completely stuck, although they don't see him, and that's going to be the knock onto Gokuri. It's Machao there, and he's going to get knocked too. Finally, somebody comes through for Detonation Gaming White to save it, but not before Machao is taken down.
If I'm going to go down, you're coming with me mentality coming into play. Forever, finding himself in a lot of trouble there, near on no life and just a motorcycle to try to protect him. That's not going to come out in time. Smoke's not going to plume with enough time to get that one to work for him. So Divine spotting out Forever, and yet again, rotation woes, just the absolute detriment to 4 a.m.
Well, and now Xiaolu got beat up, and Godmeow is going to see his foot and catch it and get the knock. So it's up to Crazy once again, the sole survivor for 4 a.m. to try to get some points as he works his way into the mini power station. Underneath, Canaxi and Godmeow there is the Buriram boys have a 2-2 split. They have priority on this very desirable compound in these circles. Everybody talks about it. They love this particular spot. It's defendable. You have a lot of vision across a lot of the area around you because it is kind of in a flat spot without a ton of trees. So, and you also have a building that gets pretty tall that you can get on top of. So for Buriram, we'll see if they're able to survive with Crazy underneath them with 2-2, and some teams making some late rotations, including Damwon Kia still hasn't crossed the bridge as they decided to head down to Sosnovka Island. Of course, for me, because I, come from the region, I cast the teams a lot. I'm very interested in what Kia's going to do coming up. K7 up on the north, Furia coming in very late. Everybody else has already found a home, but yeah, it's going to get dicey potentially on this next circle.
I feel bad for the amount of votes that 4 a.m. is putting up and the response that we're getting from them. You know that's going to just make it a little bit harder whenever they do go back home, just having so many people have faith in them. And then the rotation problems just continuing to abound. Furia rotating in the north. Not a lot of teams around them at the time, not even inside the safe zone, but in that northwestern area, they've got plenty of opportunities. Kia is going to be rolling in across the bridge now. The closest team is going to be to them is going to be Liquid, who in a not necessarily a bridge camp position, but do have the capabilities to hold out Kia depending on how this one plays through. I think that we do see that Liquid's doing a little bit of a response. They did hear the vehicle and the scout come into play, and with that stop coming in and the scout being so far ahead for Kia, that might allow Liquid to set up a little bit firmer of a defense.
Yep, it looks like they're on the move potentially. Speaking of teams on the move, it's K7 cutting across the GEX. GEX getting some pretty good damage into Buyohu, so the two Chinese Taipei teams trading a little bit of damage into each other there. It looks like K7 has gotten through the first blockade. Let's see if they can find another. And Team Liquid hunts down Sungjong. Yeah, who needs bridge camps? Let's just Mad Max them, take them down from the vehicles.
All right, Liquid, this is what I want to see. Get in the groove, start feeling it, get your momentum going. That's Team Liquid showing a little bit of flex right now, knowing the fact that they have the power back behind it. They have the opportunities to do something a little bit more, I wouldn't necessarily comfortable, but a little bit more risky in this situation. K7, 3-man stacked at the bottom of a wizard tower is could be good depending on how they reposition through this one, but also could be fairly detrimental whenever you're forced into a position such as that. Furia is starting to finally get to the point where people can start taking shots at them. The remnants of Kia now coming in, going to find Milta wide out in the open because they're Again, Team Liquid didn't want to hold them out. They just saw the one person that they really wanted to kill.
It was really smart by Team Liquid. They knew they had him isolated, and they went for it, as they well should. That's just great play on their part. And Sungjong, I'm not sure if he just didn't see Team Liquid or just felt he could get away with them with that motorcycle comfortably. Furia picks up level 3 gear. Not sure what gun Raspu got out of it necessarily. As you can see, he's got the barrel as his secondary gun. Not sure what the primary is for him. It could be, who knows, maybe it's a Mark 14 or an AWM. You know, we'll see. Yeah, like you mentioned, Damwon Kia does find the western side of Milta completely empty. There's only basically one player inside of Milta outside of them, and that's one member. I think it's Janku from AAA. As we wait for the phase 2 circle, Crazy still hasn't been taken out underneath Milta Power. he's hiding by some boxes, and I don't think Buriram, well, they probably, I don't know if they know he's here or not. I would think they should assume after that 4 a.m. push that someone's down there.
At this point, 4 a.m. desperately cheering for Buriram and having a strong defense and hoping the fact that they can hold us together. And yeah, you can see that Conexy was bringing out a smoke. I think that they're starting to get a read on what's going on. Crazy, you're going to have to make one hell of a play, but finds the opportunity. No, they didn't know. They were prepping for something else. Quick double pickup to find some way to get something out of this position. The other members right now, not in any form of fashion capable of assisting, not even playing this position. So congratulations, Crazy. You get rewarded with a decent spot to hold down all by your lonesome. Traffic Gaming and Shoots a Kill finding themselves in a little bit of a skirmish, and somehow, did he duck underneath of that vehicle?
I think he might have, but it doesn't matter. SDK is rolling on through and finishing off 2 members of TSG with relative ease there, not taking too much damage in return, and now they're starting to pour it on. There's Luke 12 picking up the knock on Sia, so only one left for TSG in 5th place with 21 points. Can they find any more to finish the day out? And man, I got to go back to Crazy and Buriram. Buriram has to know he's down there. Like, they have to respect that. There's still one left on 4 a.m. He could have been around. He could have been in one of those vehicles. Maybe they just didn't see it. Maybe they thought they had, tracked all of the members that were in the vehicles. Regardless, that is a big misstep from Buriram. As good as the day has been for them, that one's going to feel bad. That one stings.
Shoots a Kill, still playing around Milta Power itself, starting to get a little bit more control around this position to work with. They don't know, but with our eye in the sky, Volibear is the last one up for his squad and the only one that's really in a position to contest. Do you know that K7 is playing the Wizard Tower fairly close to it? Team Liquid, only team that's not inside the safe zone right now, rotating in the northwestern area. It's going to be TSM that's probably going to get some vision and be able to take some shots at him. Remnants of Kia right now, well, holding down different positionings. It looks like they're running a 2-1 split to the north of Milta based off positioning. Team Liquid getting that harassment fire coming out from TSM right now, but it is pretty decent range. The next one that's going to contest them inside the gauntlet is more than likely going to be Furia. Question comes into play is, what is Team Liquid and opt into doing from this position? Only one member firing out from Furia, only one member holding down this point. Oh, Raspu, though, finds a way to make it work, but I think that might have just poked the bear. They just roll into this and be like, no, we've got to try to protect EB. They don't manage to get a res for him, but they at least manage to get some vengeance for him.
Man, that was a hell of a shot by Raspu, and now you're going to put that bolt into the hands of Klibs, one of the best bolters to come out of EU. No doubt about it. Can't wait to see what he's got in store for us with that AWM. And great shot, but yeah, he was all alone, and Team Liquid right to capitalize on that situation. So Team Liquid here, we got to talk about this rotation, Matt. They were all the way to the southeast of Milta, all the way down by that peninsula that juts out to the south of Milta Power. They wrapped clear around up here to the Alamo. I mean, that's a solid 2-kilometer rotation that they make in this, and they want to work from north to south on this. It is going to be a lot harder for them to work south to north with all the exposed terrain that is between them and the mountain up towards when you start heading towards the lumber yard. So circles even going to shift up that direction. So if Team Liquid can get to the prison, like the area kind of where Ents is, they have an opportunity to do something in this round, but they're going to have to probably find either a good timing to get in between a couple teams or fight their way in a bit.
So much of the bay is inside this next circle. That's going to give Gex a little bit more of a fortified position, but they have to be cautious from people that might play the cliff sides or maybe even Lippo. That's why they're leaving one of their members back behind to hold down that positioning. Now it's going to be about rotations. We still got 48 alive, a huge bay. We still have prison in play, and most of Lumberyard and the hillsides to contest with. Now it's just a matter of where do you think is strong from this position. Gex got their defensive line set up, but Shoot to Kill is just rolling right through it. Continuing to harass as they go, CC almost gets knocked, jumps down, and then fall damage is what finishes it off. So he is now down from this position, and that opens up a better set of plays for Shoot to Kill to try to make something out of.
Oh, this is fantastic for STK now. They have a great position, and there is some good cover fire from Luke 12. Going to get Leo knocked. Very nicely done here. The setup is very, very good for STK. Even though Alo has been knocked, they have a good opportunity to get something done, and more good shooting from Pentalol is going to get Yan Lee down. STK trying to right the ship. It is just Mao Ye left, and he is exposed. Luke 12 hitting some bangers. Mao Ye just with a sliver of health going to get away.
Got himself a shack, but that is a far lesser position than what we saw just a moment ago from that team. To the south, we still have K7 that's going to have to move. The last member for 4 AM, Crazy, it's still alive. Poonage as well. FaZe has got themselves a little bit of a spot to play. Burrom's on the outside. TSM also going to have to move, as well as Team Liquid. There's a lot of odd situations that are happening as Under's now playing around positioning, and a nice counter move from this one. You can see that Shoot to Kill was trying to apply the pressure and try to make sure that they take down the last member of Gex, but Purdy Curdy is going to be punished for it. Somehow Gex is managing to cling to life, same way as we're seeing a lot of solo rats just try to find some little divot or somewhere that they can hide and dodge whatever's about to happen next.
I'm a little perplexed by that play by Purdy. Usually SDK is very good. Ooh, another AWM. You love to see it. It's crazy. That Soul Survivor from 4 AM. I don't know if he opted to pick it up or not, but you know, I gotta scratch my head a bit with Purdy Curdy's decision there. Usually SDK is really good about backing each other up, having cover fire available, you know, having the opportunity if one of them gets knocked, another one is there to cover for them. Purdy's all alone in that, and if he gets knocked, he's pretty much dead to rights to Mao Ye, and he loses that duel. A little bit of an overconfidence and a little bit of an ego push there from Purdy. He's going to find him down and out, and that allows Mao Ye to put his tail between his legs, leave it up to Lipovka. Circle going to leave it over to the southwest now, and I got to criticize Damwon Keel a little bit here as well. I saw them make kind of their patented Circle 3 center dive, and they lost 3 members doing it. They had nothing but open space in the middle of the circle, and yeah, it's not the easiest, you know, territory to work with. They could have gone to the prison hill, you know, ridge line where Under is now and maybe made that work, but they lost 3 trying to do that, and that's just, again, even though this time they make a better decision in their macro play, their micro play is still not there.
Poonage finally gets spotted out, opts to take a shot, and that's going to be a quick pickup for K7, who are going to have to rotate in just one moment. So this is a turning into a firefight fiesta right now. You just got to shoot whatever's moving around position. Team Liquid starts up and finishes what we saw Shoot to Kill trying to get just a moment ago. TSM to the west. Now you can see to the south. This is the mess that I was more worried about. Burram running right in between FaZe and Divine. It's going to be Uba that picks up the kill to go ahead and take out Burram. Now TSM, Furia still lined up against each other towards the north. They're going to have to make a play back towards prison as well, and they should be able to have a nice little bit of a reposition for TSM. All pressure really coming into Furia in this rotation. K7 hops in the vehicle, just decides to send it, but finding a pretty friendly path, actually, all things considered. Shoot to Kill gets a little bit of vision on him, and Divine doesn't have the best sight lines onto it, so K7 somehow managing to get right through the middle of this and not taking too much out of him, actually.
Yeah, they find a rock line and some hills and things like that that they can work with for now. They got to worry about somebody getting to the north of them, could potentially, kind of northwest of them, could potentially come up and over the hill and cause some problems. But for now, the space is very open, and this is going to be a pretty good move if they can win this fight against LG Divine. They have all the room in the world right now to make things happen. Team Liquid going to be sending it center, trying to see if they can maybe do what Damwon Kia could not and find some territory in the middle of this circle to the southeast of the prison and try to hang on. SDK continues to play edge and wait things out. Ents, northern side, Furia, northwest, TSM west, AAA, southwest. Detonation Gaming White has not had to leave the lumberyard yet. So that's where we sit, 11 teams, phase 4 circle, and things are probably going to be a little bit calmer for a little bit.
a lot of the teams feel like the center is already going to be just packed with people. And yes, the exact center doesn't have the best of positions to hold down for prolonged periods of time. But that's leading to all of these side skirmishes that are going on. To the south, to the north, we're seeing a very strong cluster, and Team Liquid managed to exploit that, rolls through, gets themselves a really decent position without being harassed near on at all. You can see the lay of the land right now. No one in the center. It's all just around Prison and Lumberyard cluster. So now Circle's going to pop in yet again, opened up center positioning, and these teams that have now been playing Edge going to find themselves with very little territory to work with and are going to have to firefight their way into this one.
Yeah, uphill battles for these teams all the way through, and LG Divine is going to be one of them, with FaZe still looming over to the southwest of them. FaZe is kind of aggressing in this direction. Curious to see if they are going to get committed in this. I suspect they might be waiting for the fight between K7 and LG Divine to kick off. They've probably kind of figured out that there are two teams here, and that if they get involved with each other, there's a potential for a third party and some points to be found, as that's kind of been the name of the game today. A lot of third parties, a lot of teams playing for those kill points, trying to really give themselves a good chance to play as many games as possible in the last week of the tournament.
K7 got high ground advantage on all the movements down below them. Divine starting to be pressured from multiple angles. K7 knows that they're going to have to move, but they can know that there's a lot of teams down below them, and they want to make sure to clear this one out. Fuzzface gets the line of sight back over towards June, gets the knock onto him. Should be a quick flush as well, but this is now revealed. FaZe making a play from this position. Are they going to continue to extend? No, it looks like they're content. Take the free kills as you can and just walk away from it. But Divine now going to go ahead and take a grenade to the face. Oh, JN, what are you going to do from here? You can maybe go for the res, but options are near unlimited. Shoot to kill now starting to cluster in a little bit more towards the north. Looks like they're wanting to hop on the back of whatever K7 is trying to set up.
Yeah, Turtle hanging on by a thread over there. JN is going to get the res, but this is going to be really tough for LG Divine. They're really trying. And now STK is even encroached on the territory of this fight. And you can see back over towards TSM and Furia. They're still chilling over on the western side. Under still alive in the rocks, but he had a vehicle over by him, so his position is going to be, made aware to the other teams that he's probably there. JN in the blue or LG Divine. Pedalal going to be the one to get Turtle. JN, they know where he's at. Pedalal's just waiting.
FaZe counter move.
Come alive?
Yeah, they wrapped up north around the positioning for K7, so they're trying to move into a better gatekeeping position. But it's starting to be a little bit of a distraction, as now a lot of these teams are getting caught up with each other. This could provide some type of opportunity for Shoot to Kill to capitalize off of, depending on how they move. K7 is somehow doing a great job in trying to defend this one up, and it's a very exchanged battle. You can see multiple members of FaZe already down as we're finally getting a little bit of vision onto what's going on. K7 trying to work their way up this hillside. Rez is trying to come out on the side of FaZe through this, but Lox's just starting to push through the smokes. He knows there's a potential opportunity, but a good read coming out from Fuzzface. Opts away from the Rez. Now going to have a little bit more of a cleaner position for it. But up next, new contender. It's going to be Shoot to Kill, realizing that there is a potential weakened team over here and trying to see if maybe they can get some more out of it. Already sitting on 8 kills, trying to see if they can break that 10 point.
Well, it's 8 kills for SDK, so, they really, kind of got a gut check, and they're doing a good job with it, and Pentalalt takes a little bit of grenade damage. Now they're in a big-time fight with FaZe. One of the bigger fights of their tournament lives for both of these teams going to happen right here if they fully commit to each other. It looks like SDK has a bit of a positional advantage with that ridge line, although if FaZe could maybe get up on top of the hill, there's nobody up in the lumber yard proper. So for them, whoever gets up there is going to have some surprisingly open space, but it's Luke 12 going to get the knock on to AC there. So Fuzzface and Uba look to be backing off of this. There's no hope for AC. He is taken down. And yeah, I think for FaZe, this is a route. They are going to retreat and regroup and try to fight another day.
That could put them in sight lines of AAA, who has been holding down Lumberyard for a very long time. In the north, you can see it's TSM Ints with Under just right in the middle of them, hiding down inside the rocks. The last one up for Kia. Did manage to at least buy his way into sneaking into the position points, but I feel like TSM knows what's up. They're trying to spot out what's going on, but Under has a read onto the position and even takes out the Molotov in air. Under, where has this been, man? We needed more of this. Can't get any more out of it. I'm getting so tired of thinking that there's a chance for Kia, and then it just comes apart, man.
Look, I don't care. The reaction to shoot that out of the air is actually insane. I don't think I've ever seen somebody react like that. That is actually nuts. Oh my God, Under, you animal. That was ridiculous. I know he died, but that was freaking crazy good. Oh, here comes Detonation Gaming White. 10 kills for them. They're going to take STK down, playing great defense. Look, say what you want about the Japanese teams, but Detonation Gaming White, when it comes down to playing defense, locking compounds down, holding positions, they are really darn good at it. We've seen it already once here today. We're seeing it again. Really got to give them credit. They play very strong. Oh, Diggory. That is filthy, too. Whew.
All right, TSM, you're in a lot of trouble based. Yeah, I was going to say, there's not much you can do. Ince has just got you held off of point. Ince, now the Kings of the North in position. We're at 4 teams up. AAA still sitting with 4 up. Ince with 4 up. Detonation Gaming White with 3. And FaZe with 2. FaZe does have control back in the eastern area to the south, but it's going to be Detonation Gaming White that has themselves a very centered position. But the aggressors coming in from the north are going to potentially be Ince. A very wide split coming out for AAA to get control of very difficult positions. You can see that they're playing a lot of very scattered points and very sneaky position, all things considered. But they have a good read on how we see Ince playing. Now, are we going to see AAA maybe reposition around this, provide some support, or are they just going to lean into their firefighting capabilities and hope Detonation Gaming White provides a little bit of support?
Well, with the circle heading towards them, I would expect them to do the latter of what you were talking about there, Matrim, leaning into their defensive capabilities, trying to rely on good crossfires, good setups. Let's see if they can get it done. Detonation Gaming White still going to barely have part of this Wizard Tower in that seizes on. So for them, it's going to be a potential defense against Ence if Ence pushes that way. Maybe Ence wraps around to the other side. Ence, as you can see, they're jumping up and down, trying to figure out what is going on. Prairie dogging around the top of this hill, just seeing if anybody is on the other side. Detonation Gaming White pretty well entrenched behind the other hillside with that crate as well. There's still a vehicle available for them if they need to make a rotation. So pretty interesting stuff. A lot of options available for Detonation Gaming White, but they got to make it happen. They've got to kind of stand tall here at the end. They've already had 1 win today. They've got a decent opportunity for a second there, but I suspect they're going to have to make some moves. They're going to have to get a little bit aggressive to find it this time.
There are so many opportunities still left for these teams right now. Ince, AAA are fighting with everything they've got, but you can see FaZe, the last 2 up, are still managing to find sneaky little repositions around, and that's providing a big distraction on AAA and how they're defending this one up. Sure, AAA owns a lot of territory, but that means the fact that they have to contest with the most teams. They're getting Detonation Gaming White, taking a couple of shots at them. You can see Uba already repositioned closer to it, and Ince feel like they're committing back along this line. With how scattered they are, that means that the defensive line doesn't have clear vision to defend each other. It's not going to be once we start seeing this collapse down just a little bit more and Ince start cresting the hillside that the firmer defensive lines for AAA are going to reveal themselves. Now, the question is, can Ince get enough knocks to turn that before it turns into a big enough factor to be a problem for him? Does see Ince off to the side of this one, but not clear sight lines, just that little bit of a hillside, denying anything that he can get out of it.
Yeah, he's just kind of watching and waiting. Detonation Gaming White does have FaZe Clan to potentially deal with. Fuzz Face down there has been working his way up towards them, but back over to the fight. Bob Lee gonna let loose with a frag, and pretty well packed it together for that one. Almost gets the double knock. Just hanging on is Ence for now. Detonation Gaming White starting to move out. Yep, there's Fuzz, but Melifo has a pretty good angle on that. He doesn't ADS properly. Oh no! That's going to let Fuzz at least get the knock onto him. Meanwhile, back over towards the fight. Bob Lee going down. Janku Jayers, the only 2 left for AAA. Trying to get the flush is Ence. Ence on the full push. They have dislodged AAA.
They just ran up this hillside when a little bit of a firefight broke out with Fuzzface. They saw that as their opportunity. Uba playing right at the 4 steps of this one. Finally going to get spotted out. That knocks FaZe out of the lobby. Just 3 teams up, but that's already 2 casualties coming up for AAA. Ince, still with the numbers advantage, now has a control point to play from, and you can see that they don't have to move much inside the circle at all. All pressure is now going to shift to the other teams, and Ince knows that a lot of this northern territory has been cleared. Remember, they ran to this position very quickly. It would take a lot for somebody to counter move behind them. So with this, now they know that they can start to stretch back that direction and really take control over the center of the circle. All pressure now shifts onto Detonation Gaming White, onto AAA. They're the ones that are going to have to move, and they're going to have to move exactly how Ince wants to. already set up in position. You can see that Int's starting to move around, getting control of the center, but also starting to send a couple of members to the side to make sure that nobody can push from these side flanks and set up and wait for it. Squeaky being the last guy back in this position, making sure that nobody flanks from this eastern point.
Yeah, even though Ents is in the kind of best spot in the circle, there's no doubt about it. They control the center, they control the sides. They have to deal with one team or another, otherwise they risk getting flanked. There's not much likelihood, I don't think, that Detonation Gaming White and AAA are going to push into each other. So for Ents, if you can finish off one team or another with relative ease without losing too many members, you're going to give yourself a prime opportunity to win this game. Diggory and Tikzu going to have a lot of work to do potentially against AAA once the moves are happening. AAA opting to play it passive. They're going to try to wait this out and move when they absolutely have to. And there's the opening knock. Squeaky gets the good one on to Gokuri.
Just good awareness. You can see the read on Ints. They have so much information. They know where everybody's going to be moving around them. Detonation Gaming White opting into going for a res. That's a blue zone that's going to hit pretty hard, but I think it's just narrowly on the outskirts of it. Yep. Instead, going to be able to get that one off. So back up to 3-man strong. A tackle around, not opting to capitalize off of anything that happened inside that fight. Instead, playing this one a little bit more passively. There's the fact that it's all going to come through this. Good positioning coming up. A tackle around. Gets down onto one of them. Rustin-Mar manages to retaliate back over. Sees, trying to get a little bit of a play back over to Sword Squeaky, and you can see that both teams trying to collapse into this firm defensive line that Ints has managed to hold. Sure, they have all the information, but they have to make sure to hit the shots. Tiksu down, and let's see if Jayers can manage to make something happen for his team. Opting into playing along these rocks. Grenades are coming through. A follow-up could be absolutely pivotal and turn this game on its head. It is going to connect, and so many members of Ints just got dropped. This is now all onto Diggory. He has to look, he has to hold the angle, and he has to take down Jayers. Jayers is still going for more flush upon flush with his grenades, but is going to have to peak soon. With this, Detonation Gaming White now has the numbers advantage and can turn everything around. Jayers trying to move forward, trying to get the flushes. Diggory doesn't know where he's at, finally spots him, but it's going to be Ints getting eliminated, and somehow Jayers just demolished Ints.
It's going to come down to a 1v3 for Jayers. He did such a good job here taking down Ents, and he opens up the door big time for himself potentially, but it's going to be good fire from Detonation Gaming White. They are going to take the win, but with an awful lot of help from Attack All Around.
With a lot of help from Jayers. My God, that man managed to hold that together. Just a good heads-up situation on that one. Tossed the grenades, lined them up from the other side of the rocks, and had an idea on what was going to be going on. Just solid play from Jayers. And also, I'm still caught up in shooting the Molotov out of the air.
Oh, God. That was
Please, tomorrow,
filthy.
can we get something related to that in a firefight that's, like, more pivotal for you guys?
I mean, I would hope so, Matt. He's nuts. He's one of the best close quarters fighters that I know of. I've said it since the beginning when back then they were OG and Entis Force when they picked him up that was a great pickup for them. He plugs in a lot of holes for that team. He's incredibly dangerous with those assault rifles, and you can see why. His reaction time, his aim, absolutely insane. To shoot that molly out of the air, to have those abilities is crazy. There's only so much you can ask for him as a one-man against TSM. I mean, TSM, yeah, they lost one, but they aren't going to lose any more than that.
Well, you gotta give it up to the winners. Detonation Gaming White capitalizing on the success, and AAA managed to set up for them. We're gonna go ahead and throw it to the analyst desk. You guys break down the last round.
Detonation Gaming White, after feasting on the tears, the lives of the North American squads from Zenith and Shoot to Kill, they managed to clutch out the big win at the end, all because Jayers knows how to throw a dang grenade, doesn't he? Match results, here you go. Right at the top is going to be DNG, and that should put them very comfortably in the top of the lobby, Cameron.
Yeah, really good day for them so far. That's 2 wins for them out of 4. They have a 50% win rate. Detonation Gaming are an incredibly strong team when all they have to do is turtle, which, yeah, it does rely on a little bit of RNG. But then even within this game, it's not like they caught every single circle. They did have to leave their compound towards the end. But they racked up 10 kills before that happened. They only needed to clean up what was left of Ents and AAA afterwards. And so it's really just leaning into their strengths, and Go Curry once again really stepping up for this team. He has been like top fragging, leading these guys to the charge so consistently over the course of this entire event.
Well, we've been hearing so much about how Damo and Kia might be sandbagging until the final week. Well, they're sandbagging through the first week of reseeding too, because they're in dead last. But look, hey, Clover, we saw STK making some big moves there that last game. Some signs of life from the boys, huh?
I mean, a little bit, and then it all came crashing down in part due to FaZe. And FaZe is a team. I really want to take a second to talk about FaZe, because this is the third game in a row, or three of four games, excuse me, that he's put down 4 kills and has continued to be the frag leader for his team thus far this weekend. Prior to this week, I think there was a lot of conversation surrounding FaZe, FaZe, and whether or not he was in his primal form, if he's slipping a little bit, or even a weak point for FaZe's performance. And I think that this week should really show that no, FaZe is still on his game, and we're really, I think not giving him the credit that credit is due for this. So already here, he had 13 kills today. So
it's pretty strong. Let's see if it's going to be enough to put FaZe in a pretty good spot. Looks like it will be. Top 4, 30 points on the board for them. Cameron, what are you looking at in terms of day 1 overall leaderboards?
I mean, really the big standout to me is still SDK. Yeah, they had a decent game last game. Unfortunately, it was after 3 very, very bad games. If they had a game like that all 4 games today, I think they'd be in a solid position. I think this does put them in a salvageable spot, though. They do have 17 points right now. That's not too far from being in like the 5th through 8th place. They're gonna have a massive day 2. We're gonna have to see some major slip-ups from the top teams if you want to see them really take those top positions. Outside of SDK, though, nothing is really standing out too much outside of TSM actually being a little bit higher than I think I would have expected, looking at their performance the previous couple of weeks.
Yeah, Liquid having a pretty good day for themselves as well. Clover, I'll ask you the same question. Any teams in particular, either side of the leaderboard, really kind of standing out to you?
I mean, not to draw back to your sandbagging comment, but Damwon and Kia in last place. If they can't crawl out of this position, there's no come out on week 6, get a chicken dinner, win the whole lobby. They're going to have to sit out. Whoever gets 16th place won't get to play, and this will be their last performance for PGI.S. On the flip side of that, though, Zenith, right now, they did fall down to 3rd place, but every single match they are managed to put down at the very least 1 kill. I think we're seeing very good, scary, aggressive performance from them that thus far is paying off and works well in super settings. So going into tomorrow, a lot of these teams need to be really careful for Zenith.
Yeah, it's definitely likely to see a lot of shuffling on that top side of the leaderboard. Hopefully we'll see some of these teams on the bottom half start to make a little bit more of a comeback as well. 4 a.m. finding themselves on the right side of that leaderboard. I know they've got a lot of fans that don't want to see them over there. Well, guys, that is going to do it for the first half of our reseeding games. Now, keep in mind, we are not done yet, because later on here in a couple of hours, we are going to be sending it over to the first games of the weekly finals, where there is 300K, I think, this week on the line for first, if I'm not mistaken. There's a lot of money. And if you watched last week, you saw Zenith take the first place barely over DA and Digital Athletics. You know how exciting these games are going to be, and those are going to be coming up very, very soon. So make sure you stay tuned for those. But if not, we will see you tomorrow for the second half of the games, the weekly seeding, and the final games of the grand finals. There you go. How about that? But either way, thank you so much for joining us, and for Cameron, for Clover, for Matcham, and for Paper Thin. Thank you so much for joining us once again. We will see you next time. Goodbye.